Going live, so it should be hitting it really soon. I'm looking at my phone. We should be going live really soon. Oh, I got a YouTube notification. Watch live now. So the feed should be going in really soon. May already be going in, but my phone's not updating.
Yep, I see it.
Cool. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this discussion. This is part 2 of this discussion where we're going to be talking about the rumors going into the Nintendo Direct coming soon, and just kind of talk about the port situation and a few other interesting things. But as people sort of file in, I'm gonna just kind of sort of talk about what we were talking about right before we went live. But how about you guys just introduce yourselves again? How about Joshua? You go first, then Will, then Brandon.
What's going on, everybody? Jonesy the Gent, just a YouTube commentator, just all-around fan, here to discuss some topics tonight, including the Direct and some YouTube funkery that's going on here lately, and just ready to get rolling.
Yeah. How about you, Will? How's it going?
It's going all right, man. I don't really do anything much too different from Andres here. If you remember from yesterday, when I was talking about on the Switch and the Nintendo Direct stuff, so yeah, that's pretty much it for me too. I guess pretty much the same as him. For some YouTube. See here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad. Like I said, man, I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you on the show. As fellow YouTubers, there's a lot of different things we can sort of talk about and understand with each other. But Brandon, how about you just say hi to everyone before we sort of get into what we were talking about right before we started the stream?
Hey guys, what about Nintendo? Of course, you probably know me. I've been on here for a while, but glad to be on another one of these great podcasts. Hoping to have a great discussion today.
Cool. So, Brandon, you seem to be the most knowledgeable about this topic. So, for those people who kind of care, how about you sort of detail us a little bit?
I just learned about this about an hour ago, but YouTube just announced on their Twitter at Team YouTube, I believe it is, that starting February 20th, all channels that do not meet the requirements of 1,000 subscribers and 240,000 watch minutes or 4,000 hours of watch time in the past 12 months will be ineligible to monetize your videos. So you will not be able to make any money. You can still put out videos perfectly fine, but you cannot monetize them, so you will not make any ad revenue until you meet those requirements, much like how before they made you have to start having 10,000 watch minutes lifetime on your channel to monetize. But of course, this is 24 times as much watch time plus 1,000 subscribers, and you have to meet that watch requirement every 12 months, not just lifetime. So that's what's happening on YouTube. Apparently this is to help out bigger people with bigger subscriber count and bigger YouTubers get more money, because apparently the amount of money you earn per ad is lower due to the amount of smaller channels out at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going. I don't know if you want to give your thoughts or whatever you want to do, Andre, but that's pretty much the rundown of everything that's happening on YouTube at the moment.
Well, I know Joshua, he kind of looks at this from an outsider's perspective. He just likes to talk and work with us. But, the rest of us here are small YouTubers, and so this does directly impact us. It kind of puts pressure on all of us, if we do want to actually, gain any sort of financial assistance in the future with the channel. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some work, and it does put pressure on smaller YouTubers. But, at the same time, when you think about it, like, you're not going to be making that much money if you're not past those numbers, you know what I mean? So from that perspective, I don't think it's necessarily that big a deal, but there are going to be circumstances where some people who have no ill intentions or are simply working hard or have certain passions will get a short end of the stick. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if I don't hit this goal by February 20th, I will at least be shorted out $100 to $200. And it may take a while. It may take a few more months to get money at all. You know, and after putting in over a year and a half of work on the channel, you know, it's a lot of work to get nothing in return financially, of course. But I do this because I love it, so you know I'm not going to stop. But I'm just saying there are a lot of people who may be impacted by this. But on the flip side, right, I do feel like this is being done to target those people who, as you said earlier, Josh, before we started the stream, that like there are people who try to go and create a viral video, and they might do something crazy, like something like showing a dead body on a thumbnail, right? Which I'm pretty sure we're all thinking this is kind of like a reaction to the whole Logan Paul situation. Obviously, you can't stop someone like Logan Paul, but you can stop people who don't have a following, who do crazy stuff, who try to explode onto YouTube immediately, you know, with some really insane, you know, things. So I get it. It makes sense. I think it's a good idea. But what do you guys think?
I don't know. It's annoying for me because I'm like right at that point where I'm starting to make a decent amount of money. Like the amount of money I'm making per month can help me out. It can help me to buy new equipment. It can help me out to buy new games. Like it's actually a decent amount of money that, I mean, it's not gonna, you know, help me pay rent or whatever that much, but it could help me get some stuff for my channel. So to lose that until I get to that subscriber count is really annoying because subscriber count is kind of an arbitrary number in many cases.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really necessarily portray the amount of views or, you know, watch time you're getting. Watch time I can kind of understand because, I mean, if you're not getting that many watch times, you're not getting that much money. That makes sense. When they started the 10,000 limit, I was not upset because 10,000 is, I mean, if you're not making 10,000, you're probably not even making $1 a month. But especially for people who make like shorter content, you could be making $20, $30, $50 a month and not meet the sub or watch time requirements. It's pretty crazy. Like you can be making a pretty decent amount of money. Of course, nothing crazy, but something, you know, you can buy a game or two with that a month. You could buy some new equipment every month. Like you could be saving up you could get some money to save up to make your channel bigger and better and help you out without meeting those requirements. So it's kind of, I think that's a little bit too high in my opinion. I think maybe they should have lowered that out. And it seems that, especially if you're somebody just starting out, that is a big hill to climb. That is very daunting. That's very
Let's not forget that they also, you can't live stream unless you have at least 100 subscribers, I think. Right?
It's something like that. You can't live stream.
So there are definitely, they're putting things in place to stop people who just want to jump on YouTube with no credentials, no proof, no history from doing something crazy. That's what this is about. You know, it's not really about, the point is not to hold back, you know, smaller people, but it does end up hurting them a little. Yeah, I mean, this is, like, for me personally, like, the fact that I'm getting close to getting a payment is really exciting to me, because that's kind of like a milestone, you know what I mean? It's getting to the point where, like, oh my god, I put so much time into this that I do it because I love it, but it does make things hard for me. If I just devote all my time to making money, you know, I wouldn't have to worry about bills as much, right? But I do worry about bills. But the fact that I'm starting to get there, I'm starting to get to the point where this might actually provide some relief, you know, there are other people that are in that position, and it may kind of, you know, hold them back, and it may impede on their growth to create a good channel. So, yeah, I hear that, but I also think that if you really care about this, that if you get through that point, the people who get through that point are going to be high quality, you know?
But, I mean, going into your point, to jump in here, but at the same time, you brought up the Logan Paul situation. A YouTuber with no credit coming in, or no credentials, pardon me, coming in, doing something like, it wasn't a YouTuber that was nobody. It was YouTube star child that did that. So, in effect, in retaliation to star, doing something, but it's not affecting. It's affecting the little guy, start. And business-wise, the viral video sensations that are one and done. For instance, I was watching Shark Tank the other night. He put a panda suit on her little Palmerine, and she got millions and millions. His video was probably only like maybe a minute long. So those time periods, all that time that she had clicks on that video, revenue to YouTube, but yet there's a cap on her getting a cut of the pie. I mean, I just don't find that right. It's a sharing service. That was what the F for. Yes, I'm going to speak in business, and I'm just going to flat out tell you that's wrong. In fact, a lot of people's bottom, to Brandon's point, yes, you guys use that money product to get to the point where you can be a named YouTuber with a certain quality. Well, you can't make reaches. So, well, I mean, why not just send that it's for most? I mean, I don't understand where their numbers are coming from. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
I get that there's a PR spin to it. It's
a weird period, but at the same time, I think YouTube is facing a lot of pressure right now because we're in an age where people, we're a lot more sensitive to a lot of different topics now. There's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more talking, and there's a lot of pressure to change. And what's weird is because YouTube's supposed to be free, right? It's supposed to encourage creativity and freedom and all that good stuff. But the problem is that there are going to be people that abuse it, and when people abuse it, YouTube's the face of that, right? And there are going to be companies that
way they could have done it.
Yeah, I mean, there have to be better ways, of course, definitely, for sure. Of course, we say that, right? But we're
crack down on like strikes and stuff.
They're punishing the people who didn't do it.
Strikes.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. It does feel like they're punishing people. The low level, the impoverished, the low class on YouTube, right? But I mean, that's the thing. Everyone starts low class on YouTube, but unfortunately, we kind of, we take a little bit of a hit. And then the thing is, the bigger YouTube, the bigger YouTubers though, they are the ones that took the real big hit, a year ago when the whole, adpocalypse started, because they were the people. Yeah, the adpocalypse. They literally were depending on YouTube to pay the bills, and when their videos are randomly being demonetized, they don't even get emails about them. I don't know if you guys know this, but like whenever a video I make gets demonetized, I get no notification of it. The only reason I ever notice is because I check my stats multiple times a day. Like, if I didn't, I wouldn't know. And then I am able to get it remonetized. The people say, you have to have like 1,000 views or a whole bunch of subscribers. That's it's a myth.
They don't even follow that at all.
It's a myth. You just have to challenge it, and then they look into it regardless of the views. And it may not happen immediately. It may take about a day, but it is remonetized. And I don't know if it affects its ability to reach out to other people. So we'll see. But whatever.
Petition and what we were talking about with Sony, like they're free to do just a bunch of stupid stuff for no reason. Like they don't care. I feel like.
Yeah, there's no competition.
That's the thing, which is why Amazon too.
Yeah, we need to hope and pray that their button gear and this rumored project ground floor. So,
and I mean, Twitter is tried to allows uploading now, but I feel like it sucks. I don't watch videos on Twitch. So I don't know. But let's just save this topic for another time. Let's actually get into the games, the Nintendo talk, right? What this channel is all about. So,
Yep.
let's kind of finish off the game-by-game breakdown, alright? So, the game that I was talking about before my power went out last night was Dark Souls Remastered. I think it's pretty much the last game we have to talk about for the show. For the record, anyone who's watching, if you haven't seen the part 1, check the channel. I'll put a link in the description and the comments after everything's uploaded in a few hours. But yeah, we talked about everything else from the earlier outline. The Chibi Robo hype, the trolling, the presentation, and all the other games we saw on the show. But we're going to talk about ports being bad and the rumors tonight. So, I saw Dark Souls Remastered, and I think I think it's great. It's a day-and-date port. It's coming out at the same time as the competition. It's not going to be 60 frames per second, but it is going to be at 1080p, a solid 30 frames per second, which is something that could not be said for the previous games. And since they're saying it's remastered, I'm assuming it's going to get more than just a resolution bump and an improvement in frame rate. I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like a Skyrim remastered. Yeah. So I think this, and it's including DLC. So I'm assuming this is actually going to be a pretty damn good package on the Switch. Now, there are people coming out and saying, oh, it's going to be a port of the 360 version, blah, 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 not a big deal. No, people said the exact same thing about Skyrim Switch. In fact, before people said that, when we saw the Skyrim Switch for the first time with the Nintendo reveal trailer, late 2016, people said that wasn't even real. That it was just, there. It wasn't real, except it was real. As was Mario. As was Splatoon. But, people like to just come up with stuff, and I don't know why. But whatever, it was real. And then when it was announced, people still doubted that it was a remastered version, even though when you looked at it, it was very clear, it was very similar, and now that the game has come out, yeah, it's not, there are some changes, but it is clearly the remastered build. It has almost all of the same assets. So I expect something, pretty much the same thing for this version, especially when this version actually has the same naming as the other two systems. It's not like for Skyrim Switch where it doesn't even have the same naming. So I'm excited about this because I think the version on the Switch is going to be pretty good. It's just I'm not going to get at 60 FPS, but Dark Souls has never been a 60 FPS sort of game or genre, so it's gonna be fantastic, I think. What do you guys think?
I feel like what we know about Nintendo right now, miles that they actually managed to get that debuted at their Nintendo Direct. We're known them to do or treat third parties like that. So I feel like this bodes well for a future third party. I feel like Nintendo is feeling themselves right now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree that this is definitely going to be a competent port, it seems, of the game to the Switch. And the fact that it's coming day and date with the other versions is great. I think we're going to start seeing that a lot more, especially in late 2018 and throughout 2019. I think we're going to see a lot more day and date releases with the other systems, or at least very close. Beginning, I think, probably about midway through this year. I think it's when that's going to start happening. And I think it's a great sign. I mean, Nintendo getting more third parties is always great. Who makes Dark Souls? Is it Bethesda? I don't even know.
From Software.
I think From Software.
Yeah.
Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess that would fall under one of the games they were talking about coming to the Switch. And they said they wanted to bring 2 and 3 to the Switch eventually as well. So both those games also highly acclaimed. This whole series is highly acclaimed. And it's nice to see them running at, a stable frame rate. For me, if it's a game that's meant to be in 30 frames, of course it will play better at 60 frames, but I don't really care.
I don't think you're missing out on much. I don't think you're missing out on much.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm beautiful in 60, but the game runs great in 30. I mean, that's what and you're going to get lighting and textures, and I think they said they're going to fix a lot of the bugs that were in the original.
Yeah.
I mean, it really a game to play on the go. I'm going to be that you're going to see a lot more that maybe did third past year. They're going to go ahead and grab this title because it carried. I think we were talking.
Hey Joshua, I'm losing you a little bit. I think the connection's a little iffy.
Give me 1 second. But you know, it's one of those things where it is a really good game. It's a great RPG, and I think a lot of players who didn't hop on the third-party bandwagon before, I think they're going to come on now. Dark Souls is a big name. It's a big title. It carries a lot of weight with it, and I think that, you know, it's just a good sign of things to come, especially this game. Maybe even a Tales game this year. I think it's really going to bode well for more Switch sales, because you're going to convince hardcore gamers to come to the system.
Right, and it's actually interesting. Because I got into a minor Twitter. I think I messaged it to this to you guys yesterday, but I got into like a bit of a Twitter argument with someone a few days ago. But they were talking about how the Switch isn't in competition with Xbox and PlayStation. But I made the argument that it is, because literally as more and more third parties are announcing games, multi-plats coming out for the Switch as well, that is less games being bought on Xbox and PlayStation. So it's costing those companies money. So that literally means competition, right? They're competing. They're starting to compete with each other over the same games. So if people are preferring to play portably, right? There's going to be a lot of people who are going to prefer Dark Souls on the Switch because it's portable, right? And they're not going to care about the 4K 60 FPS. If they just want to get 1080p 30 FPS, they'll get it on the Switch and they'll get it portably as well. And there may be, I think that there's going to be more people buying Dark Souls Remastered on the Switch than the other two systems. So that's direct competition, and third parties are going to realize this, so that they have a huge opportunity on the Switch, and there's a lot of money to be made. So more and more third parties are going to be coming around, and I don't understand why a lot of people continue to throw shade and refuse to believe that the Switch can't play games. You know, like they act like it's literally a potato sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 sold like the best on the Switch. I'm pretty sure they said like
it did.
For the it hasn't passed PS4 sales, but for the amount of time it's been out, it's been selling much better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
units,
what I've heard.
I think it's units. Yeah, it's
Okay, so it did.
What do they call it? Attachment rate per console.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a really big number, because that's percentage of user base. I mean, you look at the biggest PS4 games. I mean, they sell like 11. I think, what's the biggest one? 15 million, something like that. So I mean, that's a little less than a quarter of the market. So 25%. But the Switch market, you're seeing some of these games sell to like 50, 60% of the market. So, that bodes very well for third parties going forward. So, I mean, you see, I know a lot of people see the numbers and they freak out and they're like, oh, it only sold 500,000. Yeah, but 500,000 to 8 million, or, 500,000 units to 8 million Switches, that's a really good number. That's solid. That's 1/16th of total sales. So I think that's what people need to understand, is that you have to compare the numbers relatively. The Switch doesn't have 72 million systems out right now. It only has about 12 to 15.
And
so
the other thing that's interesting is that I think I'm starting to get it now. That the thing that's so special about the Switch is that it caters to many different play styles, right? So it makes playing a game a more comfortable experience. So think about this for a second, right? Like, there are times when I think about buying a game, but I'm like, oh, I don't really think I'm going to have time for it. It's like an RPG, or it's too big, or, things like this. But because the Switch is constructed in a way where it can play in many different ways, right? You can play at home on a television, you can play in your bathroom, you can play on a bus, you can play on a table, right? Like setting up like a little mini screen. You can play with friends in different ways. Like, it does things, it creates so many different play styles for the system that people who have it all of a sudden see a game that like, oh, they're more likely to buy games on the Switch because it encourages different play styles. It makes them feel like, oh, you know what, this is going to be worth me buying because I can play it in many different ways, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Because some people sometimes don't buy games, not because they don't think it's interesting, but because they don't think it's going to make sense for their lifestyle. But the Switch makes more games fit with more people's lifestyles.
For sure.
And I think...
like... Oh.
No, you go, Brandon.
Alright, I was just going to point out, shout out to Snowman in the comments. He said that the company that's porting Dark Souls is the company that ported LA Noire, which looked pretty much exactly like the PS4 version. So they do a really good job porting games to the Switch so far. So I think they'll do a pretty good job with it.
Oh, now
They did not say what the company's name was, but they said the same one that ported LA Noire. So if that's the company,
that sounds very promising.
That was the Final Fantasy 12 and Batman Arkham Return to Arkham team. They were the same port house.
That's a pretty good pedigree.
They said that they were working on a big open world adventure game, and everybody assumed that it was GTA 5. So yeah, that makes sense now. It was Dark Souls. Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Dark Souls has been rumored for a while now. So, you know, some rumors are true. Some rumors are true. But, of course, I think the rumors sort of stem from us literally seeing From Software on the developer list from Nintendo. And when you think about it, what's the game that comes from them? Dark Souls. So, yeah. But I want to
I didn't think we'd see Armored Core.
Yeah. I want to refer to some of the things in the chat that people are saying. So this is actually for the previous topic. I just want to touch on it quickly. Sun Gohan said I'm going to just quote him. I tend to follow the little guys, those barely known, because they tend to talk more about the experience of using a product instead of like the big guys who do that. They tend to promote products. So just kind of going back to, you know, how this new YouTube setup might hurt the little guys. There are people who do like to watch smaller YouTubers as a preference, because that's actually a really good argument, Son Gohan. I didn't, even really think about that. It's a great point. But, sort of moving forward. Yeah. Let me get that right. Xander Scullion, Wii U had like 15 million lifetime sales. That's a lot of missing gamers. I'm assuming that's to the point of one of the topics we're going to talk about for Wii U ports. Yeah, that's a lot of, yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for Dark Souls as well, Benjamin. And Armando Carrillo said pee poo poo, so that's that was riveting.
Nice.
The best comment on there.
Yeah. Historic Duel thinks there's too many ports. Maybe. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And
more options, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, guys. So I think Dark Souls is gonna. I think it's a sign of a lot of good things to come, and I'm personally really excited about the game. So I think it's gonna work out really well, especially what we're hearing about with which developers it's working on it. Now, I don't know if you guys are ready to move on to the next topic. Are we ready? Is there any other games from the Direct that you guys don't remember us talking about before we move forward?
Just one. We never went over Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. That's
man, I can't believe I missed that, because I'm actually pretty excited about that game.
Good one.
Yeah. So the reason I'm excited about it is that I didn't play it on Wii U. I didn't play it on 3DS either. And this version is including all of the 3DS content, all of the Wii U content, and all of the DLC, which I've heard is like well over $115 in value. I'm gonna assume
I believe it's $140 in value for what I'm assuming it's gonna be $60.
Yeah, and it's gonna be at a higher resolution.
Yeah, Josh, you're right. Plus the two new Breath of the Wild costumes.
Which, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I would like to play as like to play as Princess Zelda. She's pretty. I mean, she's bae. She's pretty. So joking aside, I am excited for that game because I actually may be buying Hyrule Warriors, especially because it is on the Switch. It's kind of one of those games where I could just take it with me and just mindless hack and slash. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't buy it on Wii U, and one of the reasons why is because, if I'm at home and I'm already comfortable, I'm not going to feel like, diverting all of my attention to a game that's kind of mindless in terms of hack and slash, basically. But when it's portable, sometimes I'm just kind of bored and I'm going to use my Switch as a distraction. Hyrule Warriors would be a pretty good distraction. You know, just kind of something that you don't really have to think too much about, and just sort of, you know, you go at it. So
binge on some Black Mirror and just play some Hyrule Warrior, man. It's, you know,
yeah,
no big thing.
yeah.
I mean, I love. I never really was into the Warriors games before. I think the only Warriors game I have is Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, and that's just like a Warriors template, but it's not an actual Warriors game. But you know, I loved Fire Emblem Warriors a lot. Like, and obviously, it's not going to be as deep as Fire Emblem Warriors. Like, that game had a lot of tactical strategy in it, and it had more meta game than Hyrule Warriors did. I have Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS. I didn't like it very much, so I didn't play it. So I'm really excited to get the actual port for it and get all that DLC. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and actually, some people bring up a good point in the chat. Like, Benjamin's asking, and So Sungo and saying that they may even add more DLC in the future, the same way they're adding Pokken. They're sort of treating it, you know, as a platform, and moving forward, they may bring out more DLC, which is more money for them. But what's interesting is that Nicholas Romero brought up, by the way, I don't know what Owlboy is, so I have no idea if you guys know.
That's a good ass platformer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
I've heard that's really good.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for that.
So apparently these guys are excited about it. I should check it out. I haven't heard about it. I probably did, but I just probably, like, you know, didn't really think too much about it. But yeah, he's also saying that maybe they could add Champions as DLC in the future, and that's something I'd be pretty excited about if I already had the game.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after the previous, Breath of the Wild expansion story for DLC Pack 2. They fleshed out the characters for the Champions a little bit more, and they had, like, a lot of pretty cool, like, battle animations, you know? So I would like to see them in Hyrule Warriors. It'd be a perfect fit, because they added all sorts of random characters that you would never think they would have an entire moveset for in Hyrule Warriors, but the Champions very clearly could have a moveset. In fact, the Champions could be potential Smash characters. You know what I mean? I don't know if that'll happen, but, you know, maybe we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good port.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, is there any other games?
It really shows the.
No, you go, Will.
I was just gonna say real quick. It really shows the. Because I remember not wanting to get that on 3DS because the frame rate was actually what I heard, and obviously I never really had a Wii U, so I'm definitely gonna pick it up on Switch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are adding some nice technical improvements, a stable 30 FPS, up to 1080p. They did say up to 1080p, which could either mean that it's an adaptive resolution or it's like Fire Emblem Warriors, where you can choose to run it at 720p 60 FPS.
That's what I'm hoping.
Or 1080p 30 FPS, which is what I'm hoping, because I want to play the game at 60 FPS, because I think that could be. I mean, that kind of game just, I think, lends itself very well to the fluidity of 60 FPS.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It actually looked better in 60 than it did in 30, 1080.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So I heard that Hyrule Warriors had quite a few different minor improvements, and I wonder if I don't know what those improvements are because I haven't played any of the Warriors games. Well, none of them on Switch. I played other Dynasty Warrior games before, but it's. Do you think they're gonna be adding some of those minor improvements to the game that they kind of established with Fire Emblem Warriors?
I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be. I think they're going to fix the resolution issues that they had with the Wii U version, and they're going to fix some of the bugs and stuff. And probably the pop-in, because I mean that was fixed in Fire Emblem Warriors. But I don't think they're going to add any of like the tactical, the meta game stuff that they added in Fire Emblem to make it a little more enjoyable. It wasn't as mindless, so. I still think it's going to be that Hyrule Warriors base game, but it's just going to have the visual improvements, and it's going to run a lot better. And I think really that's all you really need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, it is kind of one of those things where, like, it's fan service, right? If you're a Zelda fan, just kind of to be able to play with all these characters and kind of just envision these giant wars, with Hyrule characters, It's pretty cool. So I'm pretty excited about the game, and I'm actually gonna get it this time around. So I think we all pretty much are. It seems like a good package. So yeah. Now I think it's time to move on to the next topic here. Let me see if there's anything interesting in the. I'm not saying none of your comments are interesting. I just want to see if anyone brought up any other points we could talk about. Well, Sun Gohan was saying Smash, yes. The reason he's not rushing for the release for Smash Brothers on Switch is because they can add more characters, like potentially Breath of the Wild Champions, for sure. And Nicholas Romero is asking if we think there could be a direct specifically for a Fire Emblem game on Switch to just drop a lot of info about it. I think there's still a chance that we could be getting Fire Emblem before E3, but we will get to that actually, like, really soon, like super soon. Maybe. I think there's a chance for it, actually. I think there will be a direct. It's just kind of a question of when it'll come for Fire Emblem. So yeah. Do you guys?
Because they do, like, they were talking about how innovative it would be. So yeah, I would assume that have a direct.
Yeah. Also, Benjamin, from what I hear, Fire Emblem Warriors is a more well-rounded package in terms of, like, gameplay, but, you know...
Hyrule Warriors, has better characters. It just has more variety of characters than Fire Emblem Warriors, so I think it's kind of which series you like better and which aspect you like more.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big Fire Emblem fan, you might find Fire Emblem Warriors to be a better package, but... You know, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is going to have a lot of content in it. And if you're a Zelda fan, you're going to like it a lot. But it is true that Fire Emblem Warriors has had some additions to the gameplay that make it a bit more strategic, less... I mean, there's still a whole hack and slash element, but there's a bit of there's more strategic elements in Fire Emblem Warriors than there are in Hyrule Warriors. So just, you know, take that for what it is and I guess decide for yourself if you're going to pick one over the other. Now... I guess we'll actually move on to this next topic. So that is, for the record, we're going to get into some rumors and directs and stuff in a little bit, but I want to talk about this topic first. And that is ports. There are so many ports that are coming to the Nintendo Switch, specifically from the Wii U. I mean, during this Direct Mini, we got Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. There may be another that I'm missing, but I mean, we saw DLC for Pokken, but that came out, you know, the year before. But of course, there was a Mario Kart DLC. There are the rumors of Smash Brothers potentially being a port, and I mean, there's probably a few more ports as well. And that's just from Wii U. I mean, there are other ports coming to the Switch. I mean, you know, Doom came out last year. We're getting, is it East? That's coming. That's a port from the PS3 and Vita version or something. So, you know, there are a lot of ports coming. But I think ports are pretty good if, you know, if there's an audience that hasn't played it yet, you know. What do you guys think? What's your just general impression of ports, and do you want to sort of focus on the Wii U ports of the whole area, you know, of the issue, or just ports in general? You know, just give me your thoughts, guys, I guess. Not all at once.
Honestly...
I was kind of just waiting to let somebody else go first.
Yeah.
Honestly...
Because I have a lot to say, so...
Like, Nintendo has done a way better job with their marketing. So, if they, like, can definitely assure themselves that they can make money on these ports that no one really played, then I'm all for it, especially since... Because I never had a Wii U, so obviously these are new games for me. I have to assume it.
Yeah, so like if you didn't have a Wii U, like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is a great, you know, that's something. Pokken Tournament Deluxe. If you're a fighting fan, if you're a Pokemon fan, you didn't buy it on Wii U, that's a fantastic freaking game right there, you know? Hyrule Warriors, if you didn't get it on Wii U, I didn't. That has a lot of value. There's an obscene amount of content. We just talked about earlier. It's over $140 of worth of content. That's insane. So you know, these are ports that are helping to fill up the Switch lineup. And if you didn't play them before, I think it's great. But the problem is, if you have played it before, that's where I think a lot of people are going to have some beef with it.
Yeah, personally, I actually really like it when they port things over from the Wii U because there were some pretty good games on Wii U. There were some hidden gems on that system. Overall, the system itself was not good. I'm never gonna come out and be like, "Oh, the Wii U was an amazing system." No, it was a pretty crap system, but it had some pretty dang good games on there, like Mario Kart 8, Smash, Pokken, Hyrule Warriors. Like, there's some pretty good games, and most of those already have confirmed ports. And like, I was pretty sad when I had to sell my system because I was going to buy 2 Switches, and I couldn't afford 2 Switches because $600. And I had to sell my Wii U, and I was like, oh man, all these great games. But now all these games are coming back. They are improved graphically. If they have DLC, they come with all the DLC. They usually have new content, and they're all great deals. Like, I mean, even if you bought these games on the Wii U,
I don't think Donkey Kong's a great deal. I don't think Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is a mouthful of a name, is a fantastic platform, one of the best that have come out in years. But I don't think this is a good port from what we've heard, because they're only adding an easy mode with Funky Kong. They're not really adding much to the game. I mean, I guess it's going from 720p to 1080p, but if you haven't played for the game before, it's great. But I don't think it's nearly even close to enough to warrant, a rebuy by some people.
Oh yeah, the GameCube had great games.
The GameCube had a lot of great games, and some people are suggesting that maybe we should get ports from all those older games, but that would also perhaps, sort of require a bit more of an update, a lot more effort, a lot more time and money. Still cheaper than making a full-on game, but more expensive than just porting over Wii U games, which are basically almost current gen.
Slapping them on virtual console.
What'd you say, Will?
They probably would just put them on virtual console.
Slap them on virtual console.
Yeah, they could put them on virtual console.
But yeah.
Well.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was saying.
No, go ahead, Brandon. Finish your.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just not completely done what I was just saying first. But what I was, the first I was gonna say is, like, even if you own them on the Wii U, I own a lot of these games reporting on the Wii U, and yet I'm considering buying them again. Like, I bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though I had already bought Mario Kart 8 because it had the new battle mode and it was in 1080p. Pokken Tournament had upgraded resolution, had new characters. It was a good deal. Like, it's usually they make it for most of these ports. Even if you buy on the Wii U, there's usually some reason why you should buy it again on the Switch, whether it's to have it portably, or the higher resolution, or more stuff added to it. Especially for something like Hyrule Warriors, because I mean, even if you bought on the Wii U, you may not have bought the DLC, and even if you bought it on the Wii U and the DLC, did you buy the 3DS version and its DLC? Like, I mean, there's a lot of you really have to have been hardcore dedicated onto these systems to have bought every single game and every single piece of a game. And then usually even they're adding content on top of that. So in my opinion, for most of these games, there's reason enough, even if you owned a Wii U, to repurchase these games, or especially for the, let's be honest here, 90% of gamers or more who have never owned a Wii U and have never played some of these amazing games. So in my opinion, I mean, if it was just ports, if they were coming out here and we didn't, have anything but ports to look forward to, there was no Metroid Prime announced, there was no Pokemon coming to the Switch, there was no Mario Tennis, there's none of these other games, and I think that would be a problem. But I think there's enough new games mixed in with the ports, which are highly enhanced for most of them, that I think it warrants these being on the system.
Okay. I think from a business perspective, they all make sense. So first off, Taco Hut, shout out. Yeah, a double pack of the HD Zeldas would be interesting for sure if they put more into Twilight Princess HD, because I bought that game and I ended up selling it because it just wasn't enough of an improvement for me, even though it had been like a few years since I played the game. But Wind Waker HD, for whatever reason, felt better.
You're making me shook here, Andres. You're making me shook.
Sorry.
I won't go into it because it's a conversation for another day.
You don't like Twilight? Are you upset that I sold Twilight Princess HD?
No, I'm upset that you sold it because there weren't enough improvements. Because there was like a million more improvements to that game than there ever were into Wind Waker HD.
Yes, technically, but it didn't age well.
No, it didn't.
So that's the problem. But Kimishima, he's making some points that, like, for example, the GameCube came out, and then the Wii came out. The Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube, and there weren't really any GameCube ports to the Wii aside from Twilight Princess, which actually that's actually not a bad transition. So he thinks that was a better strategy. Now here's the thing, though, from a business perspective, right? Those GameCube games that sold terribly have stayed that way. They had no second life, no second wind. In this era, games there's literally, from a business perspective, backwards compatibility doesn't even seem to be a great selling point. Like when it was like the Wii U, they didn't do any better for being backwards compatible for the Wii. It didn't sell well because of that. It didn't help it at all. And the Wii, I don't know if that actually sold better because of GameCube backwards compatibility. I appreciated it each time, but I'm just saying from a business perspective, it costs a lot of money to make those systems backwards compatible, and it doesn't even work out. But then on the flip side, it isn't backwards compatible, it opens the door to port over a whole bunch of games that people would want to play on that system, and they're easy to make, and they make a lot of money. So I'm just saying, from a business perspective, ports make so much sense. They make so much sense, especially in this day and age where games cost so much to make. I mean, look at Square Enix. They're porting Final Fantasy 15 to left and right, up and down, everywhere, putting on everything in so many different ways. Like, I see Final Fantasy spin-offs, Final Fantasy 15 spin-offs. Every time I go on YouTube, I see a different ad for a different random iOS or Flash game. It's insane because they put so much money into that game, and they're like, crap, we didn't sell enough with our initial release. Yeah, they're more than milking it. They sucked it dry. Like, this is a whole farm of dehydrated cows. Yeah, like, I don't even want Final Fantasy 15 anymore, and I didn't even buy it. I've seen so many different versions of it.
I'm actually gonna buy it on the PC.
We'll see what happens. If the Royal Edition is announced for the Switch and they have some sort of exclusive content for it, maybe I'll give it a second look.
Mostly if it runs good though.
If it even runs good, that's a whole other thing. Or maybe I'll just get it on PS4 or whatever for like $20 after it's out for like 3 months. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that game. But yeah, what do you guys think, Joshua? You haven't said. I don't think you said too much about this whole porting topic. What do you think?
I've just been biding my time. So basically, my view is very similar to yours, Andres. I believe that it just makes business sense. First off, it's low cost to put out, and it's high income coming in. It's gives more games out there in the library, in the store. They're good quality titles that we know sell well. I mean, a lot of these titles, even on the Wii U, sold very well. So they're going to do very well on the Switch. So, I mean, I don't understand a lot of the port hate. I never understood it. I didn't understand it on the Xbox One and PS4, and I don't understand it on the Switch. I mean, a lot of the PS4 games that were PS3 remasters, that was because a lot of those people were Xbox 360 gamers, never played those games before, gave them a chance to play them again, or, play them for the first time. Same thing with the Switch. A lot of those gamers did not buy the Wii U. They are new to the Nintendo ecosystem. I'm one of them. I never played Nintendo console games before since the Super Nintendo, so it gives me an opportunity to play these ports and enjoy them. So, like I said, I don't understand the hate. And I see it from the inside and out. I see a lot of people on the outside talking trash, saying, all the Switch gets is ports. They're just old gen ports. And then I see a lot of people on the inside who own Switch that say, I want new games, I don't want ports. I mean, it's the same rinse, lather, repeat sort of thing, where if we don't get the third-party ports and we don't support them, then we're not going to have the developers aren't going to have money to invest in new IPs. We're not going to have newer games. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, my suggestion is if a company puts out a good port and it's something you haven't played before, or they add enough new content where it would be worth it and it's not a full $60, give it a try.
Honestly,
what's it gonna hurt?
Like, ports are almost a part of like the gaming to an extent. Like, it's gonna have a port of Skyrim. Like, the PS5 is gonna have, so I could almost say that if a port, something is wrong with it, rather than what a lot of people think is the more ports the system have, the more something is wrong with it, which is weird.
Yeah. So just a shout out to Jakar Johnson. Yeah, hey man, I heard your comment. I lowered the music a little bit. I hope that sounds better for everyone. Let me know, guys.
I didn't hear anything.
The what?
I didn't hear anything.
No, it's just if you're watching a stream, you can hear music. So I just lowered it a little bit because apparently it's a little loud. So yeah, sorry to cut you off. Will, what were you saying?
Oh, I was basically saying ports are part of, just right now, part of like the gaming ecosystem. Console from now on is gonna get like a port of Minecraft.
Yeah.
Even though that game is like 9 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but here's the actually, let me read one of Tatsumi Kimishi's comments because he's like on the other side of this. He said, if these ports actually had good changes, then maybe it'd be worth $40. But adding Funky Kong allows it to be $60. Also, they didn't even add Country Returns as a bundle. You only get Tropical Freeze. So, I mean, he doesn't think there's enough value to warrant a purchase. And if you didn't play the game, it's like a new game. So that's the thing. But yeah, you can get Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for $20 on the Wii U. But there's the thing, though. Yeah, you can get it for $20 on the Wii U right now. However, you also have to put down about $200 to get a Wii U. On the Switch, if you already have a Switch, you may only have to pay. For the record, the $60 placeholder for Donkey Kong Country. It's probably going to be at least $50, maybe $40, like you're suggesting. So it's going to be more expensive on the Switch to buy it first, but it's on a platform you prefer to have it on. So I think that's going to make sense for a lot of people. But there's another argument some people have made, and they think that sometimes ports mean less real new games. And
That's
It's absurd.
Yeah,
go on.
They're not even made by the same
crazy.
companies.
No, they're usually outsourced. They are usually outsourced, and they
Courthouses.
Minimal cost, minimal development time. So I don't think that's an issue. Also, on top of that, it's part of the game industry ecosystem. Games are so expensive now to make that ports have to be a part of the ecosystem because, like when I brought up Final Fantasy 15 earlier, that game had an enormous, obscenely high budget that took many years to make, and lives were lost, right? It's just kind of like they need to have ports because, or else that kind of like business strategy won't work nowadays. You have to make the bang for your buck. Like, you have to put out that game in so many different ways to make as much money as you can. Otherwise, you're going to go out of business, like THQ.
I want to give a example of that exact situation. So, it's not a Nintendo studio, but it is a port house. It was a Sony-owned port house, and they handled lesser games. They're Sony Bend Studios. They handled all of Sony's lesser franchises. They did a Killzone port. They did a Uncharted Vita game. They did, there was one other port they did on the PS4, I think. And then they earned enough of a reputation from doing ports that they were able to show their pedigree, and now they're doing the Days Gone game, which is a whole new IP. I mean, studios that do port houses, I mean, there is a strong
I did not know that.
history. Oh, yeah, dude. There's a strong history of game studios start out as port houses. They do ports, they farm out ports, and then they earn up enough money making ports for other companies and license games for other companies They use that money to bank in new IP, and then they make their own IPs. I mean, Platinum Games, for instance. I mean, they did those horrible deals with Activision and released a whole bunch of crap games like Legend of Korra and TMNT, and Transformers Devastators wasn't that bad, or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. They released all those games for Activision, and they signed those license deals, and they took that, and now they're doing what they want to do. So sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do to invest money in the things that you do.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like one of my favorite studios.
Yeah, so it's just, I think we're at least here everyone on the podcast reached a mutual agreement that it's just kind of like, in a way, ports are sort of like a necessary evil, except they're not even necessarily that evil because they don't really impact the flow of other good games coming around. But at the same time, to Kimishima's point, when you compare it to the past, right, it does seem a little unfair, but you have to understand we're in a different ecosystem now. And when you take into consideration that it's not really affecting the development for new games, simply allowing those games to still come because of budget and finances, I don't really think it's a big deal. And if you didn't get a chance to play some of those games, and sometimes those games were kind of good, but they needed some improvements, ports give those games a second chance at being great, So it's one of those things where, like, hey, you know what? It works out. Like, look at Final Fantasy 15. The Royal Edition, even though they get supported to hell, Final Fantasy 15 had so much hype into it. I know there's a lot of fans for that game, and the reviews were good, but it wasn't amazing. The critical reception for that game wasn't completely obscenely good. Royal Edition gives that game a second chance, and they bring it out on Switch. That's another chance for Final Fantasy 15 to make a good name for itself instead of just, the industry whore, which goes to every single platform 1,000 times. But we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and for my final, kind of a final short point here, like, considering the fact that these are different studios, they're not keeping you from they're not keeping Nintendo from making new games. You're getting this pretty much the same amount of new games that you're going to get before. So I mean, these ports, it's either have the option to pay for a better version of a game that was on the Wii U on the Switch, or have it stuck on the Wii U. Those are the options. It's doing nothing but helping these games. It's doing nothing but getting more games on the Switch and better versions of these games you already played. If you've already played them, great. You can play the other new games that are coming out, or maybe a port that you haven't played yet. It's not affecting you negatively. It only has the potential to affect you positively. So I don't see why people complain about it. Maybe you're not wanting to buy these ports. Okay, don't buy them. Just don't buy them. Like, if you don't, I'm not going to buy Tropical Freeze. Am I over here like, oh, Tropical Freeze shouldn't be on the Switch? No, I'm just not going to buy it because I already had it on the Wii U, and I don't think it's enough content to warrant a second purchase. It's not going to negatively affect you, and it only has the potential to positively affect you, so I don't see why people would complain about that.
I am a little upset about Pokken Tournament DX, though. I have to say that. Like, I got Pokken Tournament on the Wii U, and Pokken Tournament came out in 2016, right? Yeah, I think. Yeah, it did, 2016. And it definitely came out in 20, and that game came out, last year in 2017, with basically less than a year about less than a year from the game's original release. Came out again on Switch or something, and the Wii U version didn't get any DLC. There's all these other characters, and like, I felt shorted, because I paid $60 for that game, and I supported the system when not many people did, and I do feel a little slighted. So I'm not saying
it was 2015. To correct you there.
Did it? Did it actually come out in 2015?
According to Google, it came out in 2015, July 16th,
in
2015.
America? Maybe it came out in America in 2016?
Maybe it came out early in Japan. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That might be it. I don't know.
Which does affect things then, because in terms of development and such. But, I'm not the only person who felt a little slighted about Pokken Tournament DX.
I can understand that.
there is an argument to be made. Like, for example, I brought up Final Fantasy 15 multiple times already. The Royal Edition is coming out. Final Fantasy 15 is not that old. Some fans are already kind of crying about, hey, we bought this game when it came out, and this game's gonna have all the extra content, you know, for $60. Like, what happened to the original fans that bought the game a year ago? They're kind of being slighted a little bit. Like, I guess you're paying to get the game early, you know, but then is that going to encourage?
7.
Yeah, it's just it is
Same
one of those
way.
things.
Yeah, that's kind of just something that happens, especially for like fighting games and stuff. You pay $60, and then, you know, in a year or two, the edition with all the DLC comes out.
Yep.
The you know, game of the year, if it won game of the year, you know, the super
Mortal
ultimate
Kombat
deluxe
XL.
amazing edition.
Yeah,
will come out with all the DLC and maybe some improvements as well, and it will be the same price or less than what you bought it for originally. So, I don't know.
Early adopters in games always get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. Early adopters get the short end of the stick. So, you know, it's not black and white. It's not straight up ports are good or bad. There's some bad to them in a way, depending on how they're handled. Like, I don't really have a problem with Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. It doesn't excite me personally because they're not adding much to the game. But at the same time, I don't feel like I got the short end of the stick with that game because it's been a couple of years since the game came out. I got it for $20 and I had a great time with it, you know? So I don't really mind this. But the Pokken tournament thing I do mind a little bit because it hasn't been that long since I got it on Wii U. I paid the full price for it. I got the extra new Hori Pad controller for it. And I got no DLC, you know? So, yeah, it bothers me a little. But, you know, I guess what I'm saying is the ports are still okay. I have no problem with Pokken Tournament DX. But it would have been nice if Nintendo had some sort of program where someone who was an early adopter, who bought the game initially, could maybe get the newer, better version at some sort of discounted price. That's all I'm asking for.
Just trade the game in, and then you get the discount.
Oh, I got it digitally.
Oh, well then, sucks for you.
But that
I kind of agree at that point. I think overall, Pokken Tournament is probably my least favorite port. I mean, it added the least amount of content compared to the other ones, except Donkey Kong Country. I don't know what's up with that game. And it had the least graphical improvements as well. It was almost the exact same as the Wii U version. So I don't know. They like barely added anything to that game, except the two, like, what was it, like 2, 3 new characters? That was it.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's kind of like whatever. But I guess were we sort of in agreement about ports then? They are necessary and they're not really going to hurt most of us because they're good games. However, early adopters sometimes do get the short end of the stick, and maybe it'd be nice if sometimes we could get the newer version at a discounted price for showing our allegiance to that franchise. Or do you guys disagree about that idea? It's not going to happen, but, you know, I'd like it to happen.
I think for most times that's not really necessary because I think they add enough new content that's not, I mean, I don't really care. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I should have gotten a discount because I bought Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
Hey, man, even a $15 discount would be something.
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice, but I don't think it's necessary. There are some games where maybe, yeah, that could have been nice for, like, Pokken Tournament. You made a good point that kind of gave you the short end of the stick. But, I mean, like, for Mario Kart 8, I own the game on the Wii U.
That game was out for a longer amount of time, you know? It wasn't like it was like within a year. It was a couple of years. So I have not as much of a problem with that.
Well, I mean, let me ask another hypothetical question here, kind of hypothetical. So, Splatoon 2 was technically a sequel, but a lot of the critiques on that game, even from longtime fans, was it didn't add hardly any content compared to the original game.
I disagree with that, though.
I disagree
with that statement.
I mean, after the DLC, I mean, now we have tons of new content.
Well,
but when it first launched, it did not have everything it has now.
I
mean, you could have said that about the original Splatoon.
Right, when the original Splatoon came out, it was kind of a small package as well. But I got it with the understanding that it would be getting free DLC for at least a year, coming out every few weeks. you know, and I got a whole new mode, a whole new story campaign. The graphics were improved. I could play it on my Switch. Like the multiplayer modes, there was more to them. I felt like, honestly, I don't really agree with any of the complaints, to be honest, because the game looks noticeably better, and to me it feels like a natural jump from the previous Splatoon. I don't really agree with what people are saying about how it's like a jazzed up port instead of it being a full on sequel. To me, it feels like a full on sequel. I have no complaints. That's my opinion on it. I know there are a lot of people who feel differently, but personally, it's completely fine for me.
I don't feel that. I never played the original Splatoon, so I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. I enjoyed Splatoon 2. I had a great time with it, but I just remember that was some of the original, not controversy, but that was some of the reviews that came out when Splatoon 2 had launched. That was what a lot of people were saying, and I think even when it was announced, a lot of people thought that it was just a port of Splatoon. So I mean, you know,
well,
I don't really care one way or the other.
Yeah, part of that is the whole
free agency.
Yeah, part of that is the whole graphics whoredom thing again. Like, people love to just take opportunities to just like, oh, the graphics aren't like 1,000 times better. That it's clearly shit. You know, like that happens all the time. And actually, those early images, when you analyze them, there is actually a pretty noticeable difference.
And they upgraded the game like considerably since the first time they showed it.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even full. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even in 1080p when they first showed it off. It was in 720p, and it's in it's a dynamic resolution, but sticks pretty dang close to 1080p now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of differences even between that early build
and the lighting's better. There's more details. There's literally more like assets in the game. The actual ink looks a lot more natural and realistic. Like, and ink's a big deal in Splatoon because the entire map's covered with ink. So you know that's actually a big point. It's like, oh, ink, big deal. For Splatoon, huge deal. So I don't really relate to. Honestly, I disagree with those people wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So basically, my point is that as long as you're enjoying the game and you're getting your value out of it, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
True.
I agree.
True. So, yeah. Kimishima is saying he thinks that the story mode is literally the same as Splatoon 1. I don't agree.
I think it added a crap ton of new mechanics that were not in the original.
I don't agree. I just don't. We're gonna have to agree to disagree because, like, I feel pretty different.
I will
about
agree
it.
that the final boss for that is not nearly as good as the first one. But other than that, I thought the levels were actually way better.
Yes, I do agree with that. I will say that the final boss in Splatoon 1 was much better than the final boss in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, I watched that, and I was very much hoping for something like that. That looked really cool.
Splatoon 2 was a little... I don't think the scenes, like the story scenes, were not anticlimactic, but the battle itself was a little anticlimactic. I will agree with you there. But overall, I thought the campaign was solid. It felt fresh to me, funky, whatever. So yeah. So are we ready? Are we ready to move on to the next topic? Does anyone have anything else to be said? Will, you still there? You good? Maybe not. Will? Alright, well, maybe he'll come back. Maybe not. Alright, so we'll move on to the next topic then. Which is... There's a lot of rumors that are going about the Nintendo Directs. I said a plural because there's a lot of talk about different Directs coming out. And the thing is, apparently, if you look out throughout Nintendo's history, whenever a Nintendo Direct Mini comes out, within a few days, the longest amount of time it's been since a Nintendo Direct Mini has come out has been 20 days. But sometimes it's been only 3 or 4 days or a week. whenever Nintendo Direct Mini comes out, there is another bigger Direct that follows it. So, given that pattern, because literally it's happened like a whole bunch of times, like over a dozen times, and sure enough, there's been another big Direct to follow it not too long afterwards. People are thinking, hey, is another Direct coming? And then, of course, there are rumors that there's something that's going to be coming out this Thursday that is not the full-on Direct, but there will be a full-on big Direct early February. So there are some rumors, there's some statistical information that suggests so. What do you guys think about this? You know, I mean, there's so many different directions we could take this, but just kind of, you know, your initial impulse from hearing what I just said, what do you guys think?
So as far as I understand the rumors, there's been some other people so the first guy who did it, they said there was going to be a general Direct this Thursday. It's going to be even smaller than the mini Direct last week, and then there's going to be a big one in February. And apparently Emily Rogers said that that's true, but it's not going to be a general Switch Direct that comes this Thursday. Instead, it will be about the 3DS. And apparently some kind of new accessory for the Switch is going to be in there as well for casual gamers, if I understand that right. I'm pretty sure that's what you said. But apparently it may be 3DS focused with a surprise Switch accessory announcement.
Hold on. So you're talking about that there may be a 3DS focused Direct coming up this Thursday with some Switch stuff announced. So I've heard talk about maybe an apparatus or something announced for the Switch. 4K dock? Probably not. But
no.
But since we're talking about 3DS...
It's supposed to be for casual, so...
Yeah, maybe it could be the Vitality sensor. We've been hearing about that for years. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk about the potential of it being 3DS focused. Because we didn't get anything about the 3DS in the Nintendo Direct Mini. I took that as the 3DS is dead. But what if there is actually going to be some 3DS support? There are some rumors of something really, really huge that we've mentioned before. A Link's Awakening remake from the team Grezzo, the same team that made Ocarina of Time 3D, Majora's Mask 3D, and Ever Oasis. And I want to point something out here. The whole point of that isn't that they're going to basically just put like 3D, you know, polygons on top of the Link's Awakening blueprint. No, this would be like a 3D reimagining of Link's Awakening, and supposedly, according to the rumor, this will be the most expansive Zelda ever made on the 3DS. And Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask, pretty cool to me, as is, you know, Link Between Worlds, but that's a different style of Zelda game. What do you guys think of that? What if we see Link's Awakening announced for the 3DS, like a remake of it, like I said, coming later this year? Like, that's kind of a crazy idea, I think, but you know what? It's not that crazy because we know Grezzo's working on something. I just kind of assumed that they're moving on to the Switch, but maybe not.
Yeah. So I think we mentioned this shortly yesterday, but my opinion is pretty much I'll be, you know, at one half I'm gonna be super pissed because I currently own a 3DS anymore. I never want to play on a 3DS anymore, and that's a game I would be like hyped to hell about. That sounds amazing, but not on the 3DS. Like, it sounds amazing on the Switch. I mean, it would be good on the 3DS, and dang it if Nintendo wouldn't make me buy another one of those things, or at least try to get somebody to lend me one. But I mean, I really wish that it would be coming to the 3D or to the Switch. Like, oh, if this is true, I'm gonna be both upset and really happy, and it's gonna be weird. But I really wish, if this is true, I really wish it would be on the Switch. Like, I just don't want to play on my 3DS anymore.
Yeah, but at the same time, they may still want to support 3DS for a little bit longer. I don't know why, because it's like it's like literally like riding like a skeleton horse, like it's dead.
Yeah, and in the game,
well, it's not dead. It's actually, I take that back. It's not dead. Sales wise, it's not dead. It still has a huge install base. There's still tons of people who own the system.
That's because Pokemon is keeping it alive. That's pretty much all that sells right now on 3DS is Pokemon. That's what you see in the charts. You see Pokemon. You don't really see anything else on the 3DS in the charts, just Pokemon.
I don't know, Joshua. How do you feel about this coming to 3DS, if it's true? Because this is a rumor. We don't really know.
Well, I mean, you know, going back to the I mean, I would love the port one way or the other. I'd be happy with it. But, you know, going to the direct rumors and such like that, I mean, you know, I think the rumor is I've seen a rumored another mini direct on the 18th, I believe it was.
Which is this Thursday. I think. And
I don't know.
Nicholas Romero brings up an interesting point that maybe it would just be like a trailer that's casually released. A couple trailers are casually released on Thursday instead of it being like a live stream, you know? I think it's actually kind of likely. Sense. Yeah. Good point.
Well,
Nicholas.
I mean, and it is also one of those things where I really think that, and I have been saying this on Twitter and on other on Mikkel's show, I believe that we are going to get a year celebration. On the March 3rd, I think they are going to have a direct, and it's going to be, these are our numbers. This is, you know, we're kicking ass, we're taking names, and thank you for supporting us in year one and holding the line with us. We're going to reward you with year two, and I think they're just going to hit us with some big titles. I think they're going to show off
Metroid Prime 4.
I think they're going to show them
Smash
off.
Brothers.
I don't think we're going to
Pokemon,
get
Pikmin 4.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of big names.
Animal Crossing.
I think we're going to get a lot of big names. I can't say
Half-Life
we're going to get
3.
all of them that are every Half-Life. I think we're going to get a lot of them. I don't think we're going to necessarily get them in 2018, but I think we will get them in fiscal year 2018. Because if there's one thing that Nintendo has shown us is that they'll give us a hint of what's coming in the future, but they're going to show us what's coming this year. So with that, with March 3rd presentation, that's literally the beginning of that's right after the beginning of the new year for them. They're going to hit it hard, and they're going to show us what's coming out this year. Because besides Fire Emblem, which we haven't seen,
upgrading.
We're going to have a Metroid Prime to talk about or show off. We're going to have Pokemon, you see where that is. Pikmin 4, which I'm going to keep beating that bandwagon. But, I think you're going to be surprised. Bayonetta 3, we might get a chance to take a look at that and see what that looks like.
I mean, I think E3, we're going to see a lot of these games, for sure.
But they don't need an E3. I mean, that's the thing. Their E3, yeah, they kick butt, but Nintendo doesn't really need E3 anymore. I mean, these directs are spread out far enough that they can give us continuous reveals throughout the year, and they can give us as much hype. E3 is just icing on the cake. So that's why I think we're going to see maybe something smaller, and then we'll get that big one for the year celebration.
I can definitely see that.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's just, it's so hard to predict what Nintendo's doing.
Oh, for sure.
It's just kind of like one of those things. It's not that I think your idea is bad, and it's not that I think you're wrong. It's just kind of like what you're saying may even be the smartest decision, but it doesn't mean that's the decision Nintendo's going to make. You know what I mean?
Nope. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating, just like you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so make it work without E3.
Yeah, I mean they can.
Make it work without E3.
Yeah, I mean, dude, they showed 30 minutes in E3. 10 minutes of it was 3DS.
E3 2017 was just a mega direct. That's all it was. It was a mega direct with a ton of gameplay from the Treehouse. I mean,
that could be what it is though. They could save E3 just for that time of the year where you get to see a whole bunch of gameplay for these games, and that the directs are really just about showing off trailers and announcements. But E3 is where you're going to get information about hands-on, experience previews for these different kinds of games and potential hardware, for whatever that is.
Get into the nitty-gritty of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Breath of the Wild, that was amazing when we got to see Breath of the Wild, right? I would literally just spent all day, just watching.
8 hours straight, man. Yeah, 8 hours straight I was on.
Watching Breath of the Wild.
It totally, that legit happened.
It almost convinced me to get a Wii U. until I found out it was coming to the Switch, and then I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Screw that
happening.
noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get to the chat really quickly because there's been some comments. Benjamin S is actually agreeing with you, Joshua. Direct on March 3rd makes a lot of sense, actually. Nicholas Romero says, honestly, the only Zelda game that I really got into was Breath of the Wild. I really did get into Ocarina of Time, but I just couldn't. Hey, Ocarina of Time is a little dated, and Breath of the Wild does encompass a much larger audience. So I think the other Zelda games are amazing, but this isn't for everyone. So, don't feel bad, Toss me Kimishima, you want me to read something? So you said, nah, they need E3. E3 is how non-Nintendo players actually pay attention to Nintendo. Someone who casually plays Sony is going to watch Nintendo isn't going to watch Nintendo Direct.
I actually.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I was
they did.
thinking what Kimishima said, though, so to kind of go against you guys. So I don't know exactly, but I definitely think they still need a presence at E3. They can't disappear.
Yeah.
But they don't have to make
yeah.
as many
Say that.
big announcements at E3. They just have to show off the games. If they show off the games, the people are gonna see them anyways. You know what I mean? But for example, if we get a Metroid Prime trailer and a Pokemon trailer and a Bayonetta 3 and a Fire Emblem trailer and a Pikmin 4 trailer, plus 5 big games that may come out this year. I know it's a lot, but maybe, right? Let's say all 5 of those, just hypothetically, we get them as trailers on March 3rd, right? Then at Nintendo's E3, we get full-blown gameplay of those games, So, and then that still may kind of go to that sort of audience that doesn't normally pay attention to Nintendo. Maybe.
That's how they did Odyssey, right? They showed a little of it.
In January.
E3 was like a big...
Did we see anything of Mario Odyssey between January and June? I don't think we did.
We saw a trailer, I think. I thought we got another trailer.
I believe, like, between January and June, we didn't see anything.
So, actually, apparently, Nicholas Romero is speaking to Kimishima's point. He said, honestly, E3 2017 is what convinced me to get a Switch. So,
I'm sure there's anecdotal evidence for anything.
No, but,
no offense to him, but...
Yeah, true.
He said if
I
the
don't
Metroid
doubt
Prime 4, Pokemon, and Amazing Odyssey trailer weren't there, he probably wouldn't have bought a Switch as early as he did. I don't know. I do think that E3 is a time that everyone's kind of paying attention to, but it may not stay that way forever. E3 numbers are slowly going down over the years, so it's hard to say. I mean, look, Nintendo has a presence at the Game Awards. They have all these different Nintendo Directs. I think the thing is that Nintendo's not going to disappear from E3. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're going to have multiple things that are going to happen throughout the year that are going to be interesting. And there's going to be announcements at E3. I think it's a bad idea. I do agree with Kimishima and Nicholas that E3 does have to have some cool stuff. But they're going to have cool stuff throughout the year as well.
And I never said that that Nintendo shouldn't have an E3 presence. I said that they don't need to announce anything big, like they don't need to have all their announcements at E3.
It doesn't need to be their tent pole.
Yeah, and
release
it's
space.
Yeah.
So here's another point.
Like a lot of people,
you go first, Will.
and the Nintendo, like if they don't show up at E3, like Nintendo's is done for and doomed to like debunk. Like like it isn't like something that Nintendo, like a final countdown type thing.
Right. So here's another point, though, right? So I feel like as human beings, we kind of like to create patterns and say, oh, this is how it's going to be every year. But I think the truth is that every different year, it's going to warrant something different. Like, for example, myself included, I was thinking it made more sense for Nintendo just to have a big January Direct every year, like not even a mini E3, like a secondary E3, January and June, every year have a big blowout of information. But the truth is, when you think about it, and of course hindsight is 2020, they needed that big showing in 2017 to show off the Switch, but they didn't need that big showing this month. Right? I think every year it's going to warrant a different sort of presentation. Maybe when Nintendo brings out their next big system, they will have a huge E3 presence where they will have bombs like a Pokemon Switch or a Metroid Prime 4. But throughout these E3s where Nintendo Switch is thriving, they'll just have big gameplay you know, to show a whole bunch of gameplay show up, but not necessarily huge announcements like you're saying. But it's not going to be like that every year. Every year, it sort of fluctuates. It depends on the situation. It's not the same every year.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I came to my speculation, is that they didn't have a direct. They had the reveal event in January of last year, and then they didn't have a direct until they had a Fire Emblem direct right before the release of the Switch, I think, and then they had a April direct, I think it was. It was either April or May. I can't remember exactly. I know it was like a month or two right after the Switch had launched, just talking about what was going to be coming over the next spring.
Because they had the Fire Emblem direct, and then they had one for like ARMS, and then they had one for
that was later on. Yep.
They had a bunch.
Yeah,
actually.
They did, because remember that April one was the big one. It was like 45 minutes. That's what I think my speculated March 3rd direct would be, or your next big direct is going to be around 45 minutes, and it's going to be just a celebration, because I mean this was a big comeback for Nintendo, and Nintendo loves their anniversaries. And yeah, this is a sort of pattern recognition, but at the same time, you know, proof is in the pudding, and Nintendo still loves their anniversaries. They like talking about it. They like putting little Easter eggs in their games and in their consoles, apparently, for anniversaries. I think it's just a great time for them to come out. They're going to hit us with a number, and they're going to say, look, we destroyed the Wii U's numbers in 1 year. And it's going to be a great time, man. It's going to get all the fans hyped up, and it's going to make people proud to be Nintendo fans. It's going to make people like me who are not truly historic Nintendo fans, but are Switch fans. It's going to make us feel more motivated and glad that we are invested in this console ecosystem. And I think that it's going to make a lot of sense. And even if it's not March 3rd, I think it's going to be right around late winter, early spring.
Well, it could happen in February, because there's a rumor that there's a direct happening in February. You know,
how many rumors do we have?
Oh, there's tons of rumors, man.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I just speculate, you know, just from what would make sense to me, and I just go from that, and until we hear something a little more concrete, you know. Obviously, the 11th rumor was right, and I think a lot of these rumors are correct. So we could see another mini on the 18th, and it could be, I mean, because most of these games...
It may not even be a direct, though. It could just be some sort of announcement of some sort of device, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. You know, by the way, I think our main direct / Nintendo's 2018 plan is sort of blending together, so I'm just going to cross off main direct incoming for a topic, and because this is all blending together, you know, it's a fluid discussion. But so some of the rumors are suggesting that this Thursday we're going to get some sort of announcement from Nintendo. If it is like a main direct shows off Link's Awakening for 3DS and some other cool stuff for 3DS, makes sense. I think they do need to say if they do have plans for the 3DS, they need to say something soon, because I know if you're a 3DS fan and you're expecting content, at this point, you're going to be feeling like, wow, Nintendo left me high and dry here. It's time to sell my 3DS, right? Which I think that point is coming really soon.
Big Atlas game.
But there could be, I think there's still some stuff to show off. And I think Nintendo's going to have at least one big game or something to show for the 3DS. So, yeah, we will see maybe a 3DS Direct. But also, maybe the rumors are suggesting that there could be some sort of casual sort of apparatus announced for Nintendo. Something along those lines. And even Kimishima has said that, you know, while Nintendo's trying to hit this 20 million more units for the next fiscal year, and Nintendo's really catered to the hardcore audience of 2017, they need to tap into an even larger audience. Even though they're on pace to catch the Wii in terms of sales so far, they need to tap into an even larger audience, which sounds very casually and is kind of scary to me, but considering all the awesome games Nintendo's announced, I'm not that worried. What could they be thinking about? What could they do? The Switch has a lot of potential in terms of a casual system, whatever that is, right? Because the Switch can do everything, right? But what if, as I suggested earlier, what if we get to see the vitality sensor. Like, it probably wasn't that. I don't know how marketable the vitality sensor even is, but it's just kind of like, what if we see it? We've been hearing patents, and every time Nintendo is asked about an interview, they're like, oh, we're still working on the vitality sensor. Don't worry about it. But it showed up for the Wii like in 2007 or something. It's like, oh, this cool little idea that could like scan your inposts and understand your blood rate and stuff, and imagine so there was some talk about it having an impact on like horror games, right? A game that would like be literally listening to your heart, paying attention to your heart rate, and sort of the game would adapt to how you are, reacting to the game environment, which is a crazy idea, and it's an idea that I think would work really well with an Eternal Darkness sequel. But this is all speculation, but I think really cool speculation. What do you guys think?
I pretty much agree.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
No, I do know what you're talking about. I just don't know if that's what they do. Like,
no, I don't think vitality sensor is the right way to go.
Know what...
It's just interesting.
Yeah, I don't.
It's just interesting.
I don't even think you have that many ideas of what, like, a casual. What kind of casual thing that they could
Wii Sports?
It's supposed to be an accessory.
Switch Sports.
It's supposed to be some kind of accessory.
Switch Sports.
Dude, Switch Sports Resort would be amazing.
Yeah, and the accessory could be the accessory might be a helmet, because people are gonna hurt themselves playing Switch Sports.
Yeah, I just don't know what kind of accessory would you use. Is it going to be like are they going to be like different things you can put the Joy-Cons into? Like, they come up with some shooting game, it's a Joy-Con that fits into a gun or something like the remote. Like, what is a casual accessory?
Okay, hold on a second.
Right.
I'm going to take this direction in another direction that's way cooler. So
please do, because this is kind of lame.
What if it's not casual, right? An expanded audience. So think about this for a second. We've talked about it before. The Xbox One X appeals to the 4K gamer, right? The PlayStation VR appeals to the VR gamer. Those are the two different audiences, right? The Switch appeals to the portable gamer, right? But what if Nintendo is like, hey, we need to reach a larger audience? What if when they say larger audience, they don't mean grandpa, right? They don't mean your soccer mom. What if they really mean just different people who have different preferences for games? What if this is the time they announce that this is not going to happen, by the way. I'm overhyping the hell out of this. Just understand that now, guys. Don't get disappointed and butthurt and hate me when I talk about all these things, because I think some of them are possible in the future, but I don't think it's all being shown off this Thursday. But a possibility of something that could appeal to that is a 4K dock. You bring out the 4K dock, you can plug your Switch into it, it upscales your games into 4K, maybe it has like an additional graphics card in it, so it still appeals to that 4K 60 FPS kind of gamer. It will probably cost maybe $200 or so bucks, but it would still be cheaper than forcing people to buy a whole new $400, $500 system to play 4K gaming, right? It'd be basically an add-on to your Switch, but it would be a dock, so it would work out perfectly. Another possibility could maybe be, I don't know, maybe that Switch Mini, right? A Switch Mini. That could be something that people may want. I don't think it's needed, but there's a possibility. Maybe that's what they mean. Or maybe a VR headset. Maybe they figured it out. And that's a whole other thing. They launch a headset that, because the Switch already has pretty good motion controls, They have the screen, although it's in a low resolution, so it may not work too well. But hey, Nintendo may be willing to bite the bullet on that. Or maybe the headset comes with an adaptive screen on top. I don't know. But maybe that's what it is. It could be a headset. It could be a Switch Mini. It could be a 4K dock. And all of these things would appeal to different audiences that would be sort of additions to the Switch family.
Yeah.
Frame rate's going to be the only issue with the dock. I mean, I don't think resolution's going to be too big of a deal, because I mean, the PSVR is 1080p per lens, and it doesn't. I don't think it actually runs at 1080p all the time. So, and just going by from what I've seen, I definitely don't think it's 1080p all the time, but it runs at 120 frames per second because it has to be smooth. So I don't think that VR is in the way that most gamers could use it. I think it would make a lot of people sick. Maybe for small experiences, possibly, it would be okay. But I I like.
Well, unless they
ideas
figured it
where
out,
you-
unless the headset comes with an earpiece that sort of helps to make adapt your balance, right? Because a lot of there's
Yeah.
a part of the ear that I don't remember which name of it because I'm not
Equilibrium.
it helps the balance. It helps with your equilibrium. What if they add a piece to the headset? It goes into your ear that assists the equilibrium of yourself, so you don't run into those balance issues that everyone else runs to when they play other VR headsets, which would be revolutionary.
Well, like I said, the only problem is because your eyes trick you. It's not necessarily your equilibrium; it's that your eyes tend to trick you. Just going from using it, your eyes play tricks on you the whole time you're using it.
So what if this earpiece tricks your ears too? I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I do understand. I just think that's going to be really costly, and I think that
probably
basically Steam and Facebook and Sony right now are investing buttloads of money trying to figure out ways to stop people from getting sick. And I think we had talked about this yesterday, either on or off the podcast, and Nintendo is not going to release a device where they're not going to make money off of it. They will not. I believe Brandon was talking about it and said that Nintendo markets their devices to 99% or 90%.
I think that was Andres who said that, but
90% of the marketplace, and that's one of those things where I don't think they're going to sell a lot of units just because of the entry into it. But I think something along the lines of maybe something similar to a Motion Plus that helps out the Joy-Cons, where we get games that use the motion of the Joy-Cons. That helps that out a little bit more and makes that a little bit more fine-tuned.
So my only problem with that is I feel like the Joy-Cons already have pretty good motion controls. Like, they're better than the Wii Motion Plus. Like, they're...
Oh, that's for certain. But there's definitely ways that you could upgrade them, I'm sure. I mean, they could upgrade that. They could upgrade, make newer, like a new Joy-Con. I mean, I just don't know. Other than all of us speculating to hell and
right, yeah, we have no
I really
idea.
Don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea.
I don't know what they could bring out for the casual.
Yeah, as Nicholas Romero pointed out. Sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say I just don't know what they could release for the casual market. I mean, the Switch already is
It could just be games.
Entry level device.
Could just be games.
It could just be games. Yeah, I mean, it could just be fun little experiences that
like a Switch Sports. Switch Sports.
Yeah. It's already a system for everyone. Like, you see one-handed gamers beating their parents in Mario Kart and stuff already.
Like,
that's moving.
So the one thing I will miss about the Wii U is that I used to play Mario Kart 8 against a lot of my friends, and they were literally because of the way the gamepad was shaped, like, you could press the trigger by tapping against your lap, and there was also motion control. So I would hold the gamepad with one hand, right? So I had the control stick here. I could tap items to my left, right, and I would tap my lap to hit the drift button, and I was able to race and do everything I needed to do with one hand as I would eat ice cream or a sandwich, and I would beat them by like a minute. Like, it was pretty awesome to just kind of one-hand people with Mario Kart with time to spare while eating. So, it'd be pretty cool to have like
Nidhogg.
The what?
I don't know if any of you guys have played a game like Nidhogg. It's a really goofy ass like jousting game.
It sounds
There's
familiar.
also a game called Norwal or Norwale. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically a game where you would share a controller with each other. Like, you would share a PlayStation controller. One person would hold one side, the other person would hold another, and you would literally use the analog sticks to fight each other. And maybe it's small experiences like that where, yes, you can use one Joy-Con in one hand and another person uses another Joy-Con, and you guys can fight or like do like the sports, maybe like a Pilot Wings sort of thing. I mean, I think there might be.
Yo, what if they brought back
like
Pilot Wings? That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that would really bring, or like a wave race. where you can use them like that. I mean, I think there's a lot of options that in games and software that they could have, but when it comes to like hardware and accessories, I just think like it's very limited for what they could do for casual gamers, because the system's pretty much not perfect, but it's pretty damn close to get casuals and hardcore alike into the system.
Yeah, so Benjamin S. added me. He said, dang, didn't know that's even possible. I'm not sure what I said that some people might not think is possible. Remind me, because I'm not sure what I said. I said some stuff. I said some crazy stuff. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. There's so many different things. You know what I was thinking about, though? What if it was like they could do like a Mario Paint? Like, that would be pretty cool. Like a new Mario Paint. Yeah. You know, to kind of go along with what you're talking about, like maybe they would bring in more advanced motion controls. You know. Actually, you know
only
what?
One game uses that IR sensor.
If Nintendo had a VR headset, they would have a lot of games that they could do some stuff with. Like a new Mario Paint would work with Nintendo VR. You know. Heck, a Metroid Prime could have potential in VR. You know, it just there's some things. Oh yeah, you can
game, like arcade game.
Yeah,
no. So apparently,
an arcade game in Japan.
So apparently, what Benjamin thought that wasn't possible was racing in Mario Kart 8 with one hand. Yeah, it is possible on the Wii U, because you can tap the drift button with the gamepad. So, yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah, but honestly, if this is a 3DS Direct, like a mini 3DS Direct, I think that would make sense. It is supposed to be shorter than the one that was for the Switch, and honestly, I think they're just keeping the 3DS alive up until they release Pokemon on the Switch. And I think
which I hope
Pokemon
is this year,
on the 3DS,
so we can stop hearing about it.
Right, Pokemon on the 3DS is one of the big things that keeps people on that system still. It's the best-selling game on that system easily. It's the one you see on the charts. You don't really see any other 3DS games in the top 10, like hardly ever, but you do see Pokemon. So I think they may be wanting to keep the 3DS fans happy and keep them invested in Nintendo's products until they can move a lot of those diehard Pokemon fans from the 3DS over to the Switch and get the people who own a 3DS and really love Pokemon to get, transfer over to the Switch. Maybe that's how they want to do that transition. Because I feel like if you keep it too long, then it makes it less likely for people to want to pick up a Switch. So at this point, if you keep supporting 3DS, it makes it less likely to pick up a Switch. But if they wanted to keep supporting it until Pokemon comes out, I think that can make some sense.
Yeah, I like the idea of there being one more swan song, basically just because I think a Link's Awakening game, I want it to be true, because it just seems like an awesome game, but hey, maybe it's coming to Switch, I don't know. Actually, since we're on there's another rumor that came up that I think is really cool, kind of just jumping to a random topic here, but there's rumors of a 2D Metroid being in development.
I've seen stuff on that. Just headlines, though. I haven't really read it.
Yeah, that was the rumor coming out. I hope it's Fusions, man. I really hope.
Well, apparently there was kind of a teaser. I don't know if it came. I don't remember exactly. There's something came out at some point that suggested that something about fusion for Metroid Samus Returns. But I think what they could be doing is the style that they accomplished with Metroid Samus Returns. We could be seeing that again, except this time it's hopefully coming to Switch. I think that's likely.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they'll release it on the 3DS again because, I mean, it sold well, but it didn't. If it would have been on the Switch, I think it would have sold a lot more.
Definitely would have.
Maybe a couple 100,000 more units.
And it would have looked a hell of a lot better, too.
Yeah.
Because that game's great.
Graphics were good.
It looks beautiful on 3DS, but imagine if it was in HD. You know? It's just a beautiful game.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking before, I mean, the 3DS screen is just horrible for
trash
putting games on. Yeah.
Trash. You could find a better screen inside a trash can. Literally. You could literally find a better screen inside a trash can. Yeah.
Something to point out about the rumor. Apparently, the same guy who is saying that a new 2D Metroid is in the works, apparently they were they were also one of the people who predicted Metroid Samus Returns, and apparently everything they predicted was 100% accurate, and they even predicted exactly when they were going to reveal that game. So they seem to have they revealed what the game was going to be. They revealed, they were correct about how they were going to reveal it. Apparently they were just dead on everything about Metroid Samus Returns. So they seem to have some credibility.
I believe it. I don't think we're going to see it this year. I think
Yeah.
it would come out next year on Switch. It'd be fantastic. Actually, you know what? I have no idea how I feel about a 2D Metroid, because the
Right.
release of a 2D Metroid could impact the release of Metroid Prime 4. So I'm going to put a pin on that. I want Metroid Prime 4 to come out first. I don't want to get two 2D Metroids in a row before Metroid Prime 4.
And apparently the game has been in the works for a while, and it's not an internal team at Nintendo, and it's not retro, but they've been working on it for a long time, and apparently it went into early development hell, but it came out of it, and now it seems to be fine. So
I don't even know how I feel about that, because Metroid Samus Returns just came out. So I think that's kind of weird. Find it hard to believe that there would be two 2D Metroid teams. Is it the same team? Is there any mention of who's developing it?
Apparently it's not the same team.
I see. That just seems weird to me. It just seems weird to me that Nintendo would have two different teams making two different 2D Metroids and be having another team making a Metroid Prime 4, especially when Metroid is not the franchise that is known to sell so well. I call bull. Calling bull. Yeah.
Right.
Based off that just sounds wrong. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. What do you guys think, Joshua, Will?
Well, I mean,
I want a 2D
Yeah,
Metroid. I don't doubt that they could make one really soon. I just don't think that some of the details in that rumor make sense.
yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, I think as soon as from what I understood from the rumor, they said pretty much as soon as they got the sales for the other one and saw that people, were hungry for a new Metroid, 2D Metroid, they started on another. So, I mean, I would guess it would be the same studio. I can't imagine it wouldn't be that studio.
They did a great
Unless they have
job.
been working on something. Yeah,
They did a
unless
great
it was-
job.
they're working on something else. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But, I mean, now granted, Nintendo has a lot of 2D IP that they could dig into that they could be giving to that team. So,
Yeah, just hold on one second. I want to, because I'm going to wind down the discussion. I want you to finish your point. Just going to tell the chat, hey guys, if you have any final questions that you want us to get into, put them in the chat below, and once we're done talking about this topic, we'll get to them, like a little bit of a Q&A as we end the discussion. But finish your point, Joshua. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. No, you're fine. But no, it just, they have such a deep library of great 2D IP that, that team could basically do anything. I mean, they've done a Castlevania before. Now, obviously, it was Lord of the Shadows, but it followed the old 2D style Castlevania a little bit more. And they've done a 2D Metroid game. And they've done them both very well. I think that they have a great opportunity to come in and maybe Nintendo sees now, like, hey, it's like, Grez, and they see, like, they make great games. Like, even Ever Oasis, even though it didn't sell well, was a great
Simply
game.
because of branding. Like, no one's heard of this franchise. It's really tough for a new franchise to really take off in this industry.
Especially on a dying system.
Yeah, like, the thing is, like, I feel like it's very hard. Like, you need, like, a big push. Like, it needs to be the kind of game, like, Ever Oasis is a cute game, but it's not, like, a groundbreaking game in any way. You know what I mean?
No, but
yeah.
it's solid.
It's solid. Yeah, I didn't buy it. I wanted to, but it was just one of those things where, like,
If that would have came
Yeah,
out on the Switch, I guarantee it would have sold very well.
If it came on the Switch, I would have bought it.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. That's what really frustrated me with a lot of the games that. And there was a developer, Chicken Wiggle. I can't remember the studio that made that game. You guys can probably look it up on Google or Wikipedia. But he was in an interview with Polygon, and they asked him about the 3DS Marketplace. And the 3DS Marketplace used to be great for indies. And basically the last year since the Switch has come out, it's dead. Like, nobody is buying indies.
A TUI.
Yes. And nobody is buying the games anymore. Like, they're
just buying Pokemon. That's all they're buying. They're just buying
Pokemon. Yes, and they're playing
and Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah,
Pokemon Dragon Quest 11. That's it. That's all I ever see.
If in Japan, because of course we don't have Dragon Quest 11 here.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
that's all they buy is Pokemon everywhere.
Yeah. So pretty much out here in the west of Japan, we only have one option, one main IP that we can buy, and even Ultra Sun and Moon compared to the regular Sun and Moon did not sell ultra well. People are just ready to go. So, you know, they're ready, no pun intended. But you know, they're ready to move on, and they've been ready to move on. So it just frustrates me when I think, yes, there is a market there, and you can sell, and you're going to guarantee to sell X many units, a few 100,000 units. But for 64 million units out there, and you can only manage to sell like a couple million at the most, and most of these games only sell like 800,000 at tops that aren't Pokemon, that's pitiful numbers. That's a dead system. It's time to move on and pull the plug.
I think Nintendo understands that. That's also probably a reason why we haven't heard anything about for the 3DS yet, because there isn't much coming.
Yeah,
so
I'm scared about Alliance Alive and Radiant Historia. I mean, those look really good games. Alliance Alive is an old school JRPG in the line of like Final Fantasy 6, and Radiant Historia was a great new IP, and I'm just afraid that they're gonna die on the 3DS with no help at all.
Wait, don't we have a Radiant Historia on the Switch?
No. That is what the heck is that called? What the heck is that called, man? It's Radiant something or other. It's a mobile port. But yeah, I know which one you're talking about. But no, Radiant Historia is a Square Enix game, it's an Atlas game. And yeah, Alliance Alive is an Atlas game as well. And Alliance Alive is a new IP, and it's gonna die probably on the 3DS.
Well, I think there's a lot of third parties that like to stick onto dying systems to kind of get the last of those sales while the competition is on another platform. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but I definitely think this is the last year for the 3DS. I think this is it. So I think it's kind of time to move on to some of the questions in the chat, and then we'll sort of end things off. All right, so first question that I noticed, if I miss anything, guys, let me know. But quickly, because we're down to the last few minutes now. So, Benjamin S., he has a question. What series would you want to be revived on the Switch? He wants Golden Sun. Great choice, by the way. I think I may have even mentioned this to you in one of the videos that you commented on. But I want F-Zero. F-Zero GX is, to me, the best racing game ever made, and it was developed by Sega, actually, right?
Yep.
But like, it was such an amazing game. I loved it so much. I mean, I've been an F-Zero fan. I like the Super Nintendo version. I put a decent amount of time into that. I love F-Zero. F-Zero X was my first F-Zero game on the N64. For those of you who don't know who F-Zero is, because it's been a few years already, there have been people who have been born and come alive and gotten big boy jobs since the last F-Zero game come out. And like, it's a super, super fast futuristic racer. Like, if you've seen Wipeout, if you've seen Fast Racing Neo, F-Zero is like the best game in that genre by far. Like, it is so good. F-Zero GX is literally like the fastest game ever made. The controls are so tight, so polished. At the time, the graphics were beautiful. I think even now it still holds up really well. It has awesome like speed metal and heavy metal rock playing. Like, if you're into like really intense, super futuristic, awesome, beautiful tight turns and flying through beautiful areas of like space and space cars and racing fast, I'm totally nerding out right now, but yeah, I would love to see F-Zero be brought back on the Nintendo Switch. And I have hope that Retro Studios is bringing back an old Nintendo IP. I think it could be F-Zero because they did work with the Mario Kart team on Mario Kart 7 to get some experience with some racing tracks. You know, F-Zero has been one of those franchises people have been begging for a while now. Retro's not working on Metroid. I doubt they're working on Donkey Kong Country after all the Donkey Kong games.
No.
So it kind of does whittle things down a little bit. If they're going to bring back a franchise, which I think is the most likely thing they're doing, and Metroid and Donkey Kong are not there's not that many other there's other options. It could be Kid Icarus, but I think if there's going to be a new Kid Icarus game, it would be Sakurai developing it, especially since he's not working on the next Smash Brothers apparently. So,
Or
you know,
he says.
or he says, right? Or as he says,
He said before that.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I think F-Zero could be the Nintendo franchise I would like to see. What do you guys think? Is there anything you guys would like to see in terms of Nintendo franchises to be resurrected?
For freaking Mario.
A good Paper Mario game, dude. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
The thing is, Paper Mario is actually a very alive and well Nintendo series. So, but it has
that's
a
not the
different
Super Mario I know.
Yeah, I understand.
It's alive. I don't know if it's well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on a different track.
It's there. It exists.
It's not the person you remember. The Paper Mario you used to know and love is dead now.
How dare you?
Shadow of its former self. I don't think the Paper Mario games are bad, by the way. But I do understand that Thousand Year Door for most people was like the peak of the franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Paper Mario, great game, great story. It didn't have the RPG elements,
really
which wasn't as
dark.
good. Yeah, it was.
One of the darkest Nintendo games I've ever played.
Mm-hmm. It didn't have the RPG elements, which was kind of disappointing, but it had an amazing story, and it had some cool mechanics. Paper Mario, it's so bad. I don't even remember what it's called on 3DS. Oh, what is that?
Fire Star? Oh my god.
Oh gosh, that game is so bad.
Yeah, that was the one that I played, and I wish I could unplay it.
Dude, I know, it's so bad. And then Paper Mario Color Splash had a good skeleton, but it
was
no
very
RPG.
beautiful.
No
It
meat
was.
on the bone.
You messed up the RPG elements, man. You can't be doing that. And then they just didn't want any unique characters. It's just like everybody's Toads. Stop it. Miyamoto, what's wrong with you? Stop doing that.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, if you look at Mario Tennis, right? Like, they did basically, they knew that this is a dying system, so they put games on the system to make fans happy, to not sell them out. But also, they didn't invest that much into the games that they put on the system. Think about it. We got a lot of 2D games. We didn't get any big, giant, open-world 3D games. Like, the only one that was there was Xenoblade X and then Breath of the Wild, but I don't really count that because it came out after the system was dead and for the Switch. So, it got one exclusive, like, open-world, single-player kind of game. The big-budget kind of game from Nintendo. One. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was because the Wii was a failure.
Definitely.
So I never saw no Metroid. That's why I even feel like 3D World was kind of like a budget Mario game. I mean, look at it compared to
Still a
Odyssey.
good game, though.
It's a good game, but it's a budget game. You know what I mean? You can tell it's like cookie cutter. Like it's not. It's like they didn't put much time and love into designing every little bit and piece. They didn't really put anything that was revolutionary or really changed the way you play the game. Like there wasn't that much that went to the playtesting and the the creative process beforehand. Like, but look at Mario Tennis Aces. It's a good example. Compare it to Ultra Smash. Like, obviously, we don't know how good the game's going to be, but it's very clear to put a lot more time and effort and love into the design of the game. Like, they actually have, like, visors and stuff. There's details. Like, it's not just straight up, rips from other games. Let's just put Mario with the same overalls and Bowser with his same lack of clothes, and just give them rackets and call it a day. Like, there's clearly being time and effort put into this game because the Switch is a worthy investment. The Wii U wasn't, and that's the point I'm getting towards with Paper Mario Color Splash. They didn't need to invest that much into that game because the Wii was a failure. So maybe the next Paper Mario on Switch will have a bigger budget, and will be better.
Yeah, you fix the battle system, and that game's not bad at all.
definitely. So, unless there's anything you guys want to bring
True
up, I want to move to
successor
the
to
next.
Thousand Year Door needs to happen.
Is there any other games you want to talk about for
I'll
move on
just,
to next? Yeah, go ahead. Go.
Yeah, I'll just name mine real quick. It's not a Nintendo IP, but it was a Nintendo exclusive after it was on a dying system, and that is a new Skies of Arcadia game from Sega.
I've heard good things about that.
That would be a good fit for the Switch. Yeah, I would love to see something like that. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Definitely, for sure. I never played it, but I know about it because I try to make myself a bit of a historian about the game industry. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
I had it on Dreamcast. Yeah, it was on Dreamcast, and then the remastered port came to the GameCube.
Yeah.
So.
or maybe the game with GameCube Virtual Console or Dreamcast Virtual Console, get to play that one first, and then.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I would be so hyped.
Be pretty cool. Yeah, it's a good one, man. All right, so next question. Jamie Shima says he got one last question. If they end up making another Direct in February and show off these big games, why did they have a mini Direct in the first place? So one, I think Nintendo wants to have a constant flow of information throughout the year to keep themselves relevant, to keep the hype going, to keep the momentum going. They don't want to necessarily show off everything. And also, because they want to get some announcements out of the way. So when you think about it, even though I thought the Direct Mini was good, and technically they don't need to say anything else, it was pretty much just all ports, for the most part. Like, there was there was nothing there that, is obviously a big budget game from Nintendo, right? Nothing. Yeah, there was nothing there was a big budget game. Mario Tennis, even though I think has a bigger budget than Ultra Trash, Trash, not Smash, like, it was... It's still a low budget game in comparison to something like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. You know what I mean? So I think they want to pace out the amount of information they come out with, and if there is a big Direct on the way, they want to get some of the smaller announcements out of the way so they can focus on some of the bigger stuff. You got to remember, in this day and age, people have short attention span, so they really want things to be clear and concise. So they don't have to have a 45 or hour long or if you're PlayStation 3-hour presentation and all you show off is like one or two remasters. Like, actually I think they want to make something like concise. So they're getting other announcements out of the way. Assuming that's a strategy. I don't think they need to show off more stuff, but if that's what they're doing, it would make sense with this Direct Mini.
For sure. Especially when people, there's another good point I've heard, and I was thinking about this, is if people are expecting the world for this. If they announced like 2 days beforehand that a normal Nintendo Direct is coming, people would assume, Metroid Prime, Pokemon, all these games are going to be there. As soon as they just surprise dropped Mini Direct, as soon as you see Mini Direct, your expectations lower. Your expectations just instantly lower. So I don't think that they were really prepared to do a big Direct where they just have this almost as big as E3, Direct kind of thing. Maybe they want to hold that off for, till March, maybe if what Joshua was saying is true. But people were still expecting something. Maybe they still wanted to, as you were saying, show off some games that would get overshadowed in a big Direct next to Metroid and Pokemon and maybe Pikmin or whatever else they want to show. They want to show off these games because they're good games. They're just not going to hold up, to these other massive games. They're going to get overshadowed, even though, they deserve to have their own spotlight. They're good games.
Definitely. I think these games deserve a spotlight, but if you bring them out next to, say, Metroid, Pokemon, Fire Emblem, or Pikmin 4 or Smash, they're going to be shadowed by comparison. And I think, for example, Dark Souls Remastered deserves to be highlighted. I think it deserved to be the final game shown off for the Mini Direct, considering what the kind of content the Mini Direct had. Because I think that's a big game, and if that game does really well when it comes out at the same time as the other platforms, it will really help to warm up third parties, because that's a game that's literally getting completely fair and equal treatment on the Switch compared to the competition. Yes, it's not in 4K. But, it has everything else. It's going to be running on the Switch, and it's being portable. It's a fair trade-off, right? Like, it's basically on par in all ways, including release date. So, that game deserves a highlight, and if it does really well, it could yield some great third-party results in the future for Nintendo. I think you guys all agree with me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the studio is Virtuos. That is that is the port house for that as well.
I believe Will, you said that, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I had somebody message me on Discord about it earlier, so I just totally slipped my mind. But yeah, no,
same way about Wolfenstein.
Yeah, man, Wolfenstein
Yeah.
panic button. I mean, it's
No,
definitely.
if when it sells, if it sells well, we don't know for sure.
Yeah,
It yields some great third-party results if
definitely.
on that game.
Okay, so there's still a lot to get into the comments, so I'm going to try to run through a little quicker, because I do want to try to get into some of the questions, because I do think it's getting a little late. Even though we got like 12 or so people watching at this late, normally wind down. I thought we were winding down, but I mean, unless you guys, there's a lot of questions. If you guys need to go soon, let me know, so I'll wind it down quicker. But are you guys good? By the way, let me know. I don't want to hold you guys up. All right. So where was it? Yeah, there's just a lot of questions. Okay. All right. So Benjamin had another question. Do you think every upcoming Final Fantasy game will be put on the Switch? My instinctive answer, my gut feeling is no, right? My fanboy answer is yes, but my gut feeling is no. I feel like Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition should have already been announced for the Nintendo Switch. I feel like that was a perfect opportunity.
When is that coming out?
I'm assuming at the end of the year, right?
So I mean, they could announce that at a big direct.
Well, when is it coming? I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me.
I'll Google it while you finish your point here.
I think there's definitely some Final Fantasy coming to Switch. I don't think necessarily every single one is coming at this point. I think part of the issue is that getting a legitimate Final Fantasy 15 running on the Switch is going to require quite a bit of a budget. Because the thing is, it wasn't developed on Unreal. It was developed with the Luminous engine, which even the PlayStation 4 ran like trash. And basically the game was developed for the PlayStation 4 and still ran like trash. So the Switch, which is weaker than it, and it's just kind of like, it's a huge investment, you know? It's not that I don't think that the game couldn't run on the Switch if it was ported appropriately and created with a different engine. It's just the amount of time and money that it would take to make it is not realistic, unless they think they'll sell a lot. And considering that a lot of people have already played it, I'm not sure. Maybe.
By the way, it's March 6th.
Okay, so it's coming out really soon. I don't know. Maybe there will be a Switch version that's announced after those come out. Because for whatever reason, I feel like some developers, or Xbox and Microsoft, Sony and Microsoft, they kind of like it if a game's going to be announced for the Switch for it to be announced after the game comes out on their systems, you know? Because then it's one of those things, like, for example, I don't think Dragon Ball FighterZ has been announced for Switch yet, though I'm hearing maybe it's going to come out later in the year. But I think it's a rumor and not confirmed yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think a lot of these games that are coming out, that just came out late 2017 and early 2018, just because these companies are so late to the game, they didn't think the Switch was going to do well. I think for a lot of these, early 2018 and late 2017 games, we're going to see those coming out later, and we're not going to see anything that's, releasing before late 2018 and 2019 to be day and date or close, except games like, smaller games like Remastered of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I think brand new games, they're so late to the game at this point, it's going to take a while.
I expect a Final Fantasy, to just kind of end the point, I expect a Final Fantasy to show up for Switch, but I think, I don't know, maybe they'll just skip Final Fantasy 15 and focus on Final Fantasy 7 Remake for the Switch, especially since Final Fantasy 7 Remake is being made with Unreal Engine, what the Switch is perfect for. So
they did say that they were considering putting
there is consideration for Final Fantasy 15. I'm just saying my gut feeling is that there's so much investment that if they haven't announced it yet, what's the holdup, But But maybe there's another Final Fantasy 15 port on the way. Like, I heard some joke from Spawnwave that they coined this one Royal Edition, so at the end of the year they can release another port called Ultimate Edition. So maybe there is another Final Fantasy 15 port coming out exclusively for Switch, right? That's gonna have a different name branding, maybe. So it's possible. So I would say, in terms of, I think there's a Final Fantasy game coming to Switch. Maybe. I just don't know what it is. And I mean like a big, not like a 2D remake or anything, like one of the big new 3D ones. I expect an announcement for one at some point this year. I just don't know which one.
Every single Final Fantasy from now on doesn't come to Switch, then Square Enix's reputation is going to take a hit.
Yeah. I agree. I think the question...
They say a lot. They say, oh, we're going for this multi-platform. We're tackling every single platform with every game we have. Like the Switch whenever they say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, we're aggressively going for the Switch. We want every single game we have on the Switch. Like, they just say a lot. So, investment in the Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next question, unless there's something you guys want to say.
I think that maybe like Final Fantasy 15 might not come to the Switch, but I think as for games, Final Fantasy games that aren't out yet, I think those have a much higher chance of being on the Switch.
Yeah. So next question, unless you guys want to add anything else. So Nicholas Romero is asking, do you think we won't get that much Metroid Prime 4 info other than a trailer at E3 if Nintendo focus on Smash 4 port and a Pokemon Switch? So it's one of those things where like I can't say for sure until I see what happens in the events preceding E3. Because if there is a major direct in February that shows off, say, Fire Emblem, for example, then that it's coming before E3, then I might say that they could show more than just a trailer for Prime 4, right? But if Fire Emblem is coming out late next year as well, that kind of tells me that Nintendo's not going to put Fire Emblem, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon, and, like Pikmin 4 and Smash, 5 big games in a 6 to 7 month period like that. That's too big, That's like putting Zelda, Mario Splatoon, and Xenoblade and ARMS in all right after E3. They didn't do that. They were spread throughout the year. So it kind of depends on when we see Fire Emblem, come out. If Fire Emblem's coming out before E3, I'd say that we might get more for Prime 4 at E3. But if not, I'd say, that they're going to spread that thing out a little bit. What do you guys think? Not sure?
I don't know.
Like Nintendo's, I mean, like one of their best characteristics is that they are predict what Nintendo's gonna do.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to predict. Yeah, it's totally hard to predict for sure. I definitely think we're gonna see more of Prime 4 this year, though.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel like that's a guarantee, but yeah.
Yeah, will we see like a full blown gameplay like Breath of the Wild E3 or like that's? I would love it. I would cry, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
They're not gonna do that unless it comes out this year.
Maybe, yeah. But then there's also Pokemon to consider. That's a game that could deserve a big E3 blowout as well. Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely going to be some game, some big new game, not a port of anything, that's going to have a big focus at E3. Question is, what is it? I think it's more likely to be a game that's already been announced. So, what games have been announced that aren't ports? That are definitely, there's 3. There's Bayonetta 3, Metroid, and Pokemon, and Fire Emblem. So, at least one of those games is going to have a huge E3 focus. At least one of them. Which one? It's probably not Bayonetta 3, because that game was the most, recently announced. Yeah. So we'll see, though.
I don't think it's going to be Fire Emblem either. That series does well, but I don't think it does well enough to be their main game. To be honest, I think it's going to be... Yeah. And it's going to be probably Pokemon or Metroid. Because I think one of those two games I think is going to come out this year.
Yeah, I think one of them at least. At least one of them. So let's.
Unless it's some game that's not announced, which could happen, but I don't think so.
Bayonetta is just gonna show up and then say something sexy, and then like the whole Nintendo change into everything about just hair is gonna be everywhere.
Okay, so let me get to Kevin Rivera's point. So he says, "Sweet, we're still going. Yeah, man, we're still going." But then he's saying, "Yeah, Nintendo intends to sell 20 million this year. What games could justify this proposal? Not hating on ports, just want to see your ideas and potential games coming out." So I think the big 20 million to me suggests Smash Brothers and Pokemon. Yeah, those are two games that have really wide appeal, and yeah, those are pretty much the last two games, and Animal Crossing. Those three games, I think at least two of those three games should come out this year. This next fiscal year, I should say. Actually, if you include the fiscal year, it could be all three games, which extends all the way till early, April 1st, 2019. So between now and April 1st, 2019, we could see, I think it's likely we'll see Pokemon, Smash Brothers, and Animal Crossing to really push that 20 million for next fiscal year.
I think with how well Animal Crossing Pocket Camp did on phones, just how many downloads it got. It was downloaded almost as fast as Mario Run. Like, it was downloaded, I think, twice as fast as Fire Emblem. It has a big, widespread appeal for, the kind of, I don't even want to call it casual audience, but it kind of has a more mainstream-ish audience. I don't know. Either way, it's a wider audience than some of these games that we already know are coming out this year, like Fire Emblem. So, honestly, if they announce Animal Crossing for the Switch, I think it will be a bigger deal than Fire Emblem on the Switch. So they might want to trumpet that more than Fire Emblem. Yes. So I think that game definitely could help push units, to be honest. I think people kind of underestimate Animal Crossing in a way because I don't even know why they do. They just kind of, I don't hear that many people saying like, Animal Crossing would sell systems. Like, you just never really hear that.
I'm pretty sure Animal Crossing has like the widest demographic of like franchise. Like, usually it's like pretty one-sided, whereas like Mario and Zelda, like Animal Crossing has like the highest like female gamers.
It does. I've noticed that actually. So, yeah, it does.
That could push a lot of systems.
Right, and that would fit in literally exactly what Kimishima is saying in terms of getting more of it expanded on. It's for sure. Animal Crossing could be that game. Definitely.
In fact, Animal Crossing New Leaf has sold about 12 million copies on the 3DS. Like, it's definitely a game that sells well. Like, a lot of people don't realize that it's a pretty dang good selling game. Like, people really like that series, and it has a pretty hardcore audience as well. So you put Animal Crossing the Switch, that's gonna sell, and it's gonna sell the units as well. Yet another game to pull that 3DS audience into the Switch.
Yes, that's like one of the best games on 3DS.
Oh yeah, it's easily one of my favorite games on the 3DS. Top 3.
So, Benjamin S is asking me to talk about the private video in Animal Crossing playlist. So I heard you mention that yesterday. I didn't see that. So
I don't know what that means.
So the thing is, because I didn't see it myself, I can't be like, oh yeah, this is probably real or innocent. I didn't see it myself, but from the sounds of it, if it's true, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I didn't see where it was coming from exactly. I didn't see all the details. But I could maybe see potentially that they were considering an Animal Crossing thing. But I would say, in terms of a playlist sort of thing, a private video, I would say not likely that...
Probably like Pocket Camp stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not likely that was like, oh, we have a big Animal Crossing trailer just waiting in private videos. I don't think that's what's going down. Yeah. I do think Animal Crossing is in the works, but I don't think that a private video on a playlist is indicative.
I definitely think they want to capitalize on Pocket Camp's success. I've said this many times. Pretty much when Nintendo has come out with a mobile game, shortly after they have come out with a console version of that series. So I definitely think that.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. So I definitely think that there could be an Animal Crossing for the Switch coming out this year that might be announced maybe in a big March or February direct. Or E3. They could hold it off for E3. Who knows?
Yeah. So, I don't see any more questions. I know you guys are bringing up a lot of stuff. So, actually, some go on saying, will the Switch drop once the microtransactions begin? I'm hoping not, but some consumers are really against it. I don't think the Switch will drop if microtransactions did begin, but I don't think microtransactions are going to be a thing on Nintendo. I think Nintendo's pretty tasteful with their DLC in general, and I think there's already been quite a bit of controversy surrounding that sort of thing, and I think a lot of publishers are going to stay away from that now, excluding EA.
Even on their mobile devices that are free to play, like the microtransactions, they're non-intrusive. Like they're not really big on microtransactions. They kind of just have it because that's the model that they went with. That's on phones, and that works for them. But they've said they don't really think microtransactions has a place in consoles, and they barely even like it on smart devices as well. They were trying to they started off trying to do no microtransactions, pretty much just sell you the game. And it didn't work very well, so they moved to microtransactions because that's what works on mobile. Yeah, that was what works on mobile. But I think they realized that, especially, they have to have seen everything that happened with Battlefront 2. They're not about to put microtransactions in their game after that. Nintendo is not that stupid. And they were never really big on that in general, even to begin with. So I don't think we have to worry about any kind of microtransactions coming to any first-party Nintendo games. And I think even for third-party Nintendo games, Nintendo might not be very willing to have those kind of games on their system because it's bad for their reputation.
Yeah. So Splatcat95, actually from Twitch, one of the rare Twitch viewers, just saying that Nintendo really needs to give us news on Virtual Console and paid online. Definitely agree. I think that's something that's definitely coming, and I don't think we're going to have to wait until E3 to see that kind of information. I think that's going to come sooner. So yeah, good point, Splatcat. So, I know there's still some conversation going on, but I guess we're going to have to save it till next week because I feel like things are getting pretty late over here. And I know some people are tiring out, others are not. So I'm going to end this discussion. Do you guys have any final thoughts? Will, Brandon, I think Joshua tapped out. I'm not sure if he's having a connection issue or not.
But no, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just listening to you guys.
Oh, okay, cool. So, is there anything else you guys have to say? Any final thoughts?
Just that, we kind of got to get over this anti-porting mentality. I think that's going to bring us more successful games. It's going to help the marketplace, and it's going to be overall good for the Switch in general. So I really think this mentality that we've kind of carried on from the early Wii U days just kind of needs to settle down a little bit.
Yeah. And also, just to answer Jakar Johnson's question, that's the last question I saw. Do I think they'll launch Virtual Console to fill up a gap for the holiday season? No. I think they'll launch Virtual Console regardless of their holiday lineup. I think their holiday lineup is going to be really strong.
I don't think there's going to be a gap to fill.
But I do think Virtual Console is coming. If you look at those Chinese games that are coming out on the Vita Shield in terms of the 1080p Mario Galaxy, 1080p Twilight Princess, I think that's a sign of some Wii Virtual Console coming relatively soon. Relatively soon. That could mean 6 months from now, but I think it's coming. Yeah. So.
All that's left is Dreamcast.
Yeah. Anyone else with their final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if Nintendo, my final thoughts. It's just, if Nintendo has more directs, great. That'd be great. But at this point, I don't think they really need to have, that many more games for this first half of the year. I think they're pretty good. They could announce some stuff to fill in the gaps, but I don't think that we're just dying for games over here. I don't think we're just there's nothing to play on the Switch. It's like
There's
a
so
big
much to
drought or
play.
something. Yeah.
There's so much to play. There's a lot of indie games. The third-party situation is
Yeah.
getting better and better on the Switch, and there's tons of Nintendo games, which is it's just obscene how much there is. So I think a lot of gamers are
People
happy,
are
not just on
still-
Nintendo, but just other systems in general. It's been great. I think we're in a golden age of gaming. What were you saying, Will?
I was saying, like, if anything, there's like way too much to play. I know a lot of people that haven't even picked up Xenoblade 2. Itself is like a massive game, so to play on this, like, we aren't really third party if they want like the other companies. Really, like, there's no rush. Like, they don't really this early. Like, they never have. I don't know why anyone S5 in a direct mini don't show the same games for like 3 years. See why that it's like a continuous mindset. Basically, Joshua said.
Yeah. Well, there are more and more games being announced, so we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be some sort of announcement on Thursday. Anyways, Joshua doesn't have a YouTube channel. He has a Twitter, so you can check him out. The link to his Twitter channel is in the description below. He loves talking games. He loves talking about all systems. Definitely check him out. Joshua, do you want to add anything else to that for your plug?
Nope. Just come check me out and talk, chat, whatever, and keep on gaming out there, guys, and enjoy.
Yeah, so for Will and Brandon, they're small YouTubers like me. If something happens on Thursday, we're probably all going to cover it. So definitely check us out. We all focus on Nintendo. Will, this is his first time on the discussion, so I'm going to give you a bit of a highlight. Guys, check out his channel. The link is in the description below. He was telling me how he's been on a hiatus, but he's coming back. He makes some pretty good content, guys, so definitely check him out. Do you want to add anything else to your plug, Will?
No, pretty much, man. That was perfect, actually. I have a Twitter like my friend Joshua over there, and this was pretty fun. So, and I hope I can come back on here soon.
Yeah, man, it was great having you all on. I love talking to you guys. So, if you guys had fun, definitely love to have you guys again at some point for sure. Maybe multiple times. It's been good. And of course, Brandon, my boy, you want to have any final plugs for yourself?
Oh yeah, just with the recent knowledge of what what YouTube's doing with their whole you have to get to 1,000 subs thing, just expect I'll let you know, just expect a lot more content coming your way, some quality content, maybe some stuff you guys haven't seen before, some new series and stuff. Just expect some cool stuff because I am definitely taking this as it's a challenge. I'm going to get to that sub goal, and we're gonna be good. I think Andres also has that same mindset.
Hashtag road to 1K. My goal is to get there by the end of January. I know it's going to be really tough to do, but I'm going to try.
As long as I get there before February 20th.
Right. Well, that's only 20 days after my goal, so we'll see. Anyways, guys, the links to everyone's channels are in the description below. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter or anything else, or Twitch or YouTube, if you're watching this on Twitch, all of that information is in the description below. So anyways, guys, it's been fun. It's been cool. This has been a two-part discussion, but I've had a lot of fun, and thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all really soon. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
As soon as I figure out how to get my mouse to the other screen. Okay. Bye for realsies.